Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto gets Athena pregnant. Percy Jackson. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by xxAkuxx and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. A new beginning. Uzumaki Naruto sighed. It had been what the calendar marked as 3 years since he had arrived in the new dimension that he lived in. When he first arrived in that world he had been hopelessly lost. All he really knew is that the people talked a variety of different languages and had technology and architect that was very different than what he was used to. He spent about a month just listening to people talk and stealing food with his ninja skills. That was also something he noticed, everyone had no chakra, absolutely none. When he first tried his Senin mode he could sense the people, but they held no chakra. Of course at the time he had just assumed that he was blown away to some land that knew nothing of the war, but that thought was going away slowly. It was impossible to live without chakra, but that was when the thought crossed him that maybe they were a different species of human. He thought he must have arrived in a different planet filled with aliens, but after thinking about it, he was the alien. Who knows what kind of things they would do to him if they found out. So he decided to lay low. He was in hostile territory for all he knew, and while he knew he was an impulsive person, he had to restrain himself far beyond what he was used to. Of course the threat of being a science experiment also helped motivate him. He began his hardest journey ever reading. Of course, if it was just a bit of reading he wouldn't have minded, but he had to read millennium of things that happened, but how? Surely such an advanced civilization such as the one here resided in held many documents and history books about the world, right? That was when he turned around and spotted the big sign that said library. He felt stupid. When he walked in there, he didn't know that he needed certain information that he didn't know what it was, so he had to resort to shinobi skills. He snuck in and created a handful of kage bunshin in order to learn what was going on. Thankfully with so many years working as a shinobi, he was trained to memorize details with minimal problem, and that was not exempt from a book. He read a good-sized book about the country's history, which he read was separated from another country centuries ago. It was pretty interesting, especially this internet thing he read about. A form of accessing an infinite amount of knowledge right in the privacy of your own home, it was staggering. While he got more information from his clones, he was at a loss. Apparently the era of shinobi, or if they actually existed, died over 500 years ago. People really didn't need shinobi, and as it stood he was more of a over-specialized bodyguard. But he had to start somewhere, so the first thing he needed to do is have documents that he actually existed. Next was finding somewhere to live. It wasn't hard to get enough money for a down payment on a cheap house. All he had to do was steal a bit from every civilian he came across, in between $5 to $10 was enough, multiply it by 50 or 100 and he was set for a month or two. He had to take a few jobs as a bodyguard first. It was slow, but he got around, and thanks to his most used jutsu, he really had no problem from there on out. After a year or so, he decided to actually start studying. He was getting bored of being a guard, and it wouldn't hurt to have a diploma in the future, maybe be a teacher. He had an apprentice before, why not make it a class worth? It was strange, if anyone saw him from the elemental nations right now, they would have called him a fake. But that comes with being the most unpredictable ninja in the world, do what they don't expect. Then he started thinking of what had happened to his former home. The fourth shinobi world took its toll on everyone. After Obito, formerly known as Tobi, the leader of Akatsuki, was defeated with Uchiha Sasuke, putting an end to the Uchiha bloodline, there was a severe repercussion in the ninja world. He had set Kurama free, agreeing that the Bijuu once they emerged would enter a stage of hibernation to not disturb humanity and less close to destroying themselves. It was a hard thing to do, but it had to be done, but not before he learned from Kurama that his body was slowly starting to create a new chakra network, allowing for Yaki to be created inside him. The world had seen the horrors of what the war did to the planet and decided to let go of their hatred and start progressing with technology and medical advancements. The world was turning for the better at a fast rate, and while shinobi were still everywhere, they all agreed to seal the most dangerous items away to not bring any more misfortune. But how? Fortunately there was an answer. Who else could seal everything away but in Uzumaki? Naruto had delved into Fuinjutsu like a madman drinking alcohol. He found himself being able to think clearly for the first time. He later discovered that because of the Shiki Fuin, half his thought process was sealed away, and thus he was only running at half brain power, and considering he wasn't a total idiot, then he was pretty smart. With the help of Kage Bunshin, his matured mind and the help of everyone, he quickly rose to being a seal master worthy of being in Uzumaki. Thus he began the last mission he would do with Konohagakure before becoming a wanderer and helping the world along with its salvation. However, he forgot about one thing. When you mix various deadly, finely crafted weapons that react to the slightest chakra, along with nature chakra and demonic chakra, and the effect it was causing on a very complicated ceiling array, things went from bad to holy fucking shit. Luckily he managed to keep it contained and protected the world from being sucked into a some-time vortex thing. But he got sent through. He sighed to himself, it had now been 3 years since. He had been studying for a year now, and he had passed his high school diploma test or whatever they called it half a year ago. He entered a nice university where he was free to learn whatever he wanted. But lately he was starting to get interested in Greek mythology. He wondered why in the world were there so many gods, but considering the religion in the world, he was skeptical, but it was still amazing to learn about it and the heroes of the past. Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Ares, Hera, Hermes and many more, how each god ruled over a certain thing, is what threw Naruto off. Why couldn't there be just like a handful of gods? But then again the Titans were pretty much jerks from what he read about Kronos. Nowadays he spent most of his time in the library reading on campus. He was looking through books when he found a book he had been looking for a while. Well, he had read about many gods, he had yet to find much about goddesses, and now was a good time to do some reading on it. Just as he grabbed the spine of the book, another hand grabbed the bottom portion of the book. She had black hair and had alluring gray eyes. Now that he thought about it, he rarely saw gray eyes. Red, green, blue, black and even pink he has seen, but gray was a rare one. She was beautiful, she was smaller than Naruto, and had eyes that seemed as if they calculated everything. Naruto smiled and gave out a sigh, he thought she was beautiful, but with his time with Jiraiya, he had come to know that beauty was only skin deep. Of course, that lesson didn't sink in until he recovered his brain back. He could always read it some other time. He grabbed the book and gave it to the Ravenette and giving her a sheepish smile. "Here, you can have it," he said, rubbing his hand on the back of his head. As he was leaving, the women decided to speak. "Do you need to book by any chance?" she asked. Naruto shook his head. "No, lately I've been interested in Greek mythology, and since I've been reading a lot about the gods of Olympus, I decided I was going to start learning about the goddesses," he said. "Starting with Athena?" she asked. Naruto shrugged. "Good place to start. Goddess of wisdom and battle, sounds like a woman that has a story or 10 to tell." "Good point," the woman said, internally she was smiling. "Goodbye then." Naruto waved at the woman who waved back. It would be a week before he saw the women again. From then on they came into constant contact with each other. He didn't know whether to be cautious or if he was being paranoid. But he quickly threw that idea away because at worst all he could get was a girl to fall in love with him. There was no assassination attempted him in this world. The name was Eliza. Apparently she majored in history. She was a kind woman, but a very disciplined one. She refused to indulge herself in something. For example, one time she wanted dessert but restrained herself because it would be a bit selfish. Naruto just rolled his eyes and bought her some damn ice cream. They got along pretty well except for the fact that Naruto pretty much made her world very fun. It could be written as complicated. Not in the bad sense, but they just got into some crazy stuff, like somehow they ended up in a crime scene and they were the main suspects. Another time when they had to chase a damn dog all over the campus to retrieve Tsunade's necklace that she got him after the war. She was smart and admitted that even if he did annoy her, she wouldn't have traded it for the world. The main topic they mostly talked about was Greek mythology. They would talk and argue for hours, but it was all in good fun. They hung out a lot. He wasn't sure how to feel, honestly. Sure, he had his fair share of flings despite his idiot self liking Sakura. On his travels with Jiraiya, the old bastard dragged him into brothels. At first he was very embarrassed to see a bunch of pretty Nichans walking around in skimpy outfits. Apparently they found that he was easily embarrassed very cute. They talked a lot and some even offered him a bit of service while he declined, saying he liked a girl already, and when he described her, they frowned but accepted it, but not before adding their own advice, such as making a woman happy and what to do in bed. It was very embarrassing to learn the birds and bees from them. Then puberty set in. It became extremely hard not to fall for his natural urges. Finally, after some convincing from Jiraiya that he was a ninja and he might as well enjoy it, and a Nichan with red hair that he kind of had the hots for offered him, well, let's just say that he was glad that he was a practical learner and his stamina, he still giggled till this day of what he did. Of course he didn't had sex with every girl he met, he only did it when he thought it would mean a lot to the girl. Apparently he was really likable everywhere but inside Konoha. When he got back to Konoha, he tried to ask Sakura to a date, but she rejected the offer. From there he gained the title of being a pervert. But really, could you blame him? Everyone else had parents or a clan to teach them while he raised himself. His only parental figures were Ruka, who was a gentleman pervert, Kakashi, who read porn in public, Jiraiya, who wrote the porn, and Tsunade, who was an alcoholic. He really couldn't help his own hormonal thoughts because there was no one to tell him it was wrong, it was just Sakura or Tsunade with their monster strength, who were the type to strike before asking questions or explaining. While he liked Eliza and he was sure it could lead to more, he felt like he needed to clear his head for a bit before going into a relationship. Naruto treasured her friendship, she became the most important thing in the world to him, seeing as she was his first friend. He really didn't want to lose that, so he ignored the hint she dropped, apparently that encouraged her. Women are so complicated. About 4 months from their meeting, Naruto decided to take a break and go train a bit to make sure that he wasn't rusty. Of course, Eliza was a bit worried when he hadn't told her where, but she let it drop. Naruto journeyed to a secluded area in a nature reserve. It was easy to get in and easy to hide under a bit of Fuinjutsu. He could tell that there was something going on with the world he landed. There was a strange mist around, but he decided to leave it be. He really didn't want to get involved with the world's problems. Normally he would have been all for getting involved, but learning about guns, bombs and whatever legendary monsters he wasn't eager. Of course he knew the monsters were dead, but with his luck, he wouldn't bet on it. He wondered if he should have thought it through. He was in the woods without a place to sleep except the trees. Oh well, he slept in weirder places. It was like he was suddenly hit by a lightning bolt. He still had the scroll filled with super powerful shit of mass destruction. He could make all kinds of things with rage and no ken, slicing up trees, using samahata to shave of anything. There was probably stuff on elemental manipulation, and from what he learned from science, he could literally combine elements. Ha! Screw you bloodline limits. He could replicate anything, oh how he wanted to do Haku's mirror onage moves. The world's language was getting to Naruto. It was very fun experimenting with the elements, one of his favorite things to do was instant explosion, he understood that when wind was compressed, it became hot or something like that, and eventually. Boom. Instant Bakutner explosion release style is translated into English. He was learning how to manipulate Mokuton out of pure awesomeness, also because he wanted to make a house like Yamato Taichu, good thing he had incredible memory, well he would have just ignored it like all other hand signs, he thought it would be good to remember them in case someone could do the same technique. So far he had managed to grow a single tree, it was an awesome tree, it was big, thick and strong. He was proud of his baby, he really needed to rest, he had made amazing progress in the last month. He thought maybe he was spreading himself too far apart, but it wasn't like he had anyone to test himself with, after all he doubted he could be beaten even if he was rusty as hell. He decided to meditate, maybe he could connect to nature now. It was strange. The first time he had tried using sage mode, he felt another presence all around him. It was like there was a being that ruled over nature. But luckily the being didn't notice because he didn't take nature's powers, he let it flow into him and use it, he was not stealing power, merely becoming a closed river that split on the way to the ocean. Yeah, he didn't get it either, but Eliza was getting to him. He felt something, a presence. It wasn't a regular presence like a regular human's. It felt higher, it was human-like, that was for sure, but it possessed something he couldn't describe. But it was alone and it was heading straight for him. He really couldn't underestimate his enemy, but posing as a regular human was best right now. Whatever the superhuman was, it clearly lived for a long time, so it was better not to piss it off. But all he had was a bow he used for hunting some game that he made from his baby. He had no choice but to go with that, how he wished he could find a blacksmith to make kunai and shuriken. Asking his presence, he hid on top of the tree he called his baby and notched the arrow. He remained perfectly calm and slowed his heart, using the bare essential of oxygen to survive. He noticed that as the thing got closer that it was a human. Upon closer inspection, it was a woman. She had auburn hair that reminded him of the Mizukage's hair and had the strangest shade of silvery yellow eyes he's ever seen, the only place he saw the same color was off the moon. She was a beauty, almost breathtaking honestly, but he had no time to think more, she approached the tree he was hidden in and in a strange language, she seemed to be talking to the tree. What was more shocking was that the tree reacted. What the hell? Some kind of nature magic. His shock made his grip soften and fly in between the descending branch and the woman. Apparently the woman's reflexes were fast enough to jump away before the arrow hit the floor. Shit. He thought. He really didn't want to start a fight, especially against an all-powerful woman, those were always the dangerous ones. The woman pulled a bow out of nowhere and fired a silvery arrow at him, Naruto reacted fast and jumped out of the way, landing directly in the woman's eyesight, and each one had an arrow notched ready to shoot if necessary. She has amazing reaction time and perception. Naruto thought. She immediately grasped the surrounding around her and reacted instantly by firing an arrow that would have pierced his head. Who are you? They both said, they stopped for a bit to register what they said. What are you doing here? Again they both said it at the same time. Why did you fire an arrow at me? She said, with an irritated voice. Naruto couldn't exactly fault her, she was just shot at for no reason, he would be pissed too. Sorry, that was an accident. I was not expecting a person to be here or the tree moving on its own," he said. The woman's eyes widened slightly. "You saw that?" It was more of a statement than a question. "Yeah, that tree is a weird one, who would have thought it could move on its own?" he said, trying to blame superstition. "The tree?" she asked. "Yeah, this tree's done weird things like grow from a seed to a tree practically overnight, and I swear I've seen it move itself before," he said, lowering his bow and looking at the tree. The woman seemed relieved and didn't say anything, but then she had to ask. "Now, who are you?" she said. "The name is Uzumaki Naruto, and you are?" "My name is Artemis." Artemis could say that it was the first time she had met a person like Uzumaki Naruto. He was a one-in-a-billion kind of guy. He was many things: kind, rude, clumsy, smartish, and most of all competitive. He gave of an air of confidence, but he was so childish in her opinion. But she couldn't blame him because right now. "Screw you. My name is awesome. Your parents lack originality, naming you after a goddess," Naruto shouted. "What kind of name is fish cake? You have no right to criticize," she said. "No right, my ass. Hold still so I can rearrange your face." Because she was being childish too. "Make me Archer girl. I plant a whiskers." It was strange, usually she was pretty reserved. She had an excellent grasp of her emotions and rule over her self-discipline, but this guy. Maybe it was because he reminded her of her brother and right now they were mock fighting. Nah, her brother Apollo didn't have whiskers. The guy just seemed to ignite something inside her, maybe it was that competitive side of her that she had not felt in many years. "Ha. I won, take that, you prude." He smirked. God, she just wanted to wipe that grin off his face. Best 6/11ths. She yelled out. Why were they competing again? Oh yeah, they had a short talk after introducing themselves. He was an energetic guy, and she admitted that she wasn't exactly a ball of sunshine, she was the opposite, her brother was the sun literally. Then he mentioned that she was pretty unique. When she asked how, he said that she gave off the aura of someone that could do a lot of things, but had to stick up where the sun don't shine. Oh. She was insulted, so she started calling him a degenerate and a vile man, and then went on with her usual men are stupid, women are better speeches. Then came personal insults like name calling and such. Then they sort of got into it, a competition that is. I win, now what, whisker face? The FTT. 14/27. But it was amazing that a human was keeping up with her the freaking goddess of hunt and the moon, she should be mowing this guy down. But she had to admit that it was the most fun that she's had in years. Sure, her hunters gave her a good warm-up, but it just didn't compare to the thrill of a person on the same level as you. She wondered if she should start referring to him as her rival. She hated to admit it, but she was having the time of her life, even more surprising that it was with a male, she still couldn't get over that. While she didn't have men and cursed them to the bottom pits of Tartarus, she still didn't really get along with them. Only ones she got along with were other gods, and that was still shaky at times. Oh, her brother, ugh, how she wanted to strangle him sometimes. Hey, don't take out your apparent anger on me. Naruto cried. Oops, sorry. She even let out her frustration on him, either he was a good listener or he was some sort of special human. Nah. I think we should put a hold on this. Naruto said suddenly. Hey? It's been a week, I was supposed to go back a week ago, don't you have things to do? Naruto asked. He had been right, she still had her godly duties to do and she had to go back to the hunters, how did she not notice how fast the days went? Well, until next time. Naruto waved as he got his things together and prepared to leave. Wait. She said instinctively before slapping her mouth shut. Huh? Naruto said, looking oblivious. I want to settle the score, meet back here in 2 months so we can settle this. She said, grasping straws, she enjoyed her time with him and she wanted to win, sometimes she was petty like that. See you in 2 months then. Naruto said, completely oblivious of any hidden meaning, he was still slow on reading the mood. As Naruto left, Artemis couldn't help but tell herself something. If Aphrodite ever finds out about this, she won't let it go ever. She thought. She stared at his general direction before remembering what she came to do. Quickly getting enough wood from the special tree to make a bow, she departed. Eliza, otherwise known as Athena, was worried. Naruto was supposed to be back last week and yet there was no word from him. Of course she knew he could take care of himself, but still she had a right to worry. That was in her own head, who wouldn't when her friend was missing. She had to sit down and think of what could happen to detain him for a week. She felt like a overprotective girlfriend or wife that was worried that her husband was cheating on her at this point. But she really couldn't help it, she was sure that Uzumaki Naruto was a one of a kind. At first she thought he was an interesting person, and she found him most of the time in a library, she had a thing for smart people, even if he was a silly one. But things just seemed to get interesting around him. Whenever they hang out, as they say it nowadays anyways, strange things would happen. She especially found it entertaining when they got involved in that murder mystery. That was the first time it happened in all her mortal immortal life, and she loved it. He didn't mind any of her flaws either, such as being a bit obnoxious. Hey, being a know-it-all has its drawbacks after all. But he said he didn't mind, and when she showed how self-disciplined she was, he said he found it really cute. She really couldn't look at him in the eye for a week after that. How had she not made him hers already? She was seriously asking herself that. She was a freaking goddess. She should be able to use something in her brain of hers to get him. But no, she actually had to fall for him. She wondered for a second how Aphrodite dealt with all those emotions constantly. Oh, and she loved those whisker marks of his. She had never seen markings like that, and they reminded her of a fox, and the best part is that he purrs when they're rubbed. Hey, even gods think stuff is cute. Well, she finally decided she wasn't going to go on with the platonic friendship they had so far. She was going to snag him, and if he didn't feel the same way, then she'd rock his world. She loved to read, and recent changes on the mortal world influenced her. Damn Japanese people and their hentai, it's everywhere and it's so alluring. Even gods were perverts, they just have centuries of practice hiding it. So she had to take drastic measures. Sure, they would be questionable, but it was acceptable in her mind. She was going to get her man. So much for self-discipline, folks. So she used her godly powers to get his home address, and it wasn't total abuse of power at all. When she arrived, she noticed that it was a pretty ordinary place, a bit above average at best. She walked into the apartment building and looked for his name, Uzumaki Naruto. Room number 9. Upon arriving at his door, she felt herself stiffen. What the hell was she doing? She was a freaking goddess, not some love-struck schoolgirl. She should walk into there confident and full of grace. She knocked on the door but there was no answer. She decided just out of curiosity to turn the knob. It was open. She slowly opened the door and walked inside. She decided it was better to let him know she was here. She walked deeper into the house, passing a few doors and heading toward the living room. "Naruto, are you home?" she asked out loud. "Eliza?" asked a voice behind her. She turned around and blushed. Naruto, in a towel all wet, his naked body exposed, and he was walking towards her in what seemed to be slow motion, his muscles twitching with every move he made, and then darkness. She wanted to die. Those were her thoughts at the moment. She woke up, or rather jumped up, as somewhere in her sleep, her brain finally caught up to her body and jerked herself awake. Right next to her was Naruto, with an amused grin on his stupid face. "Good morning, Eliza," Naruto said affectionately. Damn it, she should have told him her name, or at least a name closer to her own than Eliza. It was a total buzzkill to be called by another name so affectionately. "I didn't faint, I passed out," was her smartest reply. Naruto couldn't help but laugh out loud. Eliza couldn't stand it and pretty much lashed out at him, kicking him down to the floor and kicking him, while he continued to laugh like a madman. Eventually they got tired of what they were doing. "So why are you here?" Naruto asked. "Well, you weren't back and you said you would come back a week ago. What happened?" she asked. "Stuff came up," Naruto answered. She frowned. "Like what?" "Stuff, rivalries, epic battles to decide who would come out on top," he said. He was telling the truth, she knew that, but he was hiding something, but she wanted to know one little teensy weeny thing first. Was this rival a guy or a girl? Oh, a girl. He said honestly, it didn't really matter to him. Athena was reviewing things in her head. Naruto was held up for a whole week by some random slut, claiming they were rivals. Of course it must have been a fling or something because the women didn't come back with him, and right now she would be damned if she didn't get him now before anyone else did. "Eliza?" Naruto asked. "Yes, Naruto," Athena responded. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Like what?" she said sweetly. "Like that. I do not know what you are talking about. That look, it's like a wolf hunting down its prey before doing the deed." Damn, he had good instincts to figure that out. Animal instinct maybe. "Eliza, why are you laughing like a pervert? What were you thinking about?" Naruto started backing up. Eliza got on her knees and started crawling towards him. "Oh, just something very special. Do you want to find out what it was?" she said, making Naruto back up into a wall. Eliza was practically pressing her body on his. Oh, I would definitely like that, but I have classes tomorrow and MMPH. "Oh no you don't," Athena thought before claiming his lips. Naruto, surprised by her actions, stared at her while she attacked his tongue before closing his eyes. It was amazing, he couldn't stop his hands from roaming her body. His hands eventually came to rest on her ass before giving an experimental squeeze, causing her to moan into his mouth. The action caused Eliza Athena to move, causing her to rub against his hardening tool. Naruto, still trying to get used to this, blushed as his friend girlfriend moaned into the kiss before breaking apart. "Since when?" Naruto asked. "It started not too long after I met you. You were just so interesting that I couldn't help but fall for you," she said, although in reality it meant a lot more because it was rare to impress a god. Naruto couldn't help but grin. "You know, since the moment I met you, I always thought you were a babe," he said and gave another squeeze at her ass again. Eliza blushed at his compliment and was overjoyed by this. "So where does this leave us?" he asked. "Why don't you let me show you?" she smirked. She was definitely going to ride him raw. He won't know what hit him. 2 days later. Athena woke up to find herself in an unfamiliar bed. She pulled the sheets off of her and gave a big yawn while stretching. Just then she realized that she was naked. As she stood up, she found herself experiencing a very sore nether region, but she didn't mind, it was a very good feeling. That and she felt it from her ass too. Just what the hell did they do? Suddenly the memories started coming back to her, the 24-hour experience left her amazed. How the hell did he keep going? Oh, she didn't even know she was that flexible. She felt very sated at the moment. She found a pile of clothes on top of a desk with a towel and thought Naruto must have left it for her. He was sweet like that, she told herself. She entered the shower and reviewed just what happened and what will happen. She finally got her man. She was giddy at the fact that she could call Naruto hers. Take that, mysterious rival women. Far away, Artemis sneezed. But now she had to tell the truth to Naruto. Just how exactly would she do it and when? She couldn't just walk up to him and then tell him, "My name is Athena, you know, the Greek goddess. Yeah, I'm immortal and you totally banged a god." That totally sounded better in her mind. There was still to tell him that if she got pregnant, that their child would be a half-god and that various monsters would come hunting the child for fame, power or whatever evil people tend to plot nowadays. Maybe she should wait a few months. She just remembered how he milked her for all she was worth. Focus. She told herself. Oh, and that tongue, oh my god, that was amazing. Hiya. She said quietly, she couldn't get her mind off of it. She was lucky she was in the shower. Kitchen. Naruto was cooking breakfast, it became his favorite activity to do. Why? Because the world had so many recipes that he never got bored. There was also the fact that he was cooking for another person. His thoughts were already thinking of building a family. He was happy, since he was young he wanted a family, he knew he didn't have much of a chance in Konoha, that was why he chose to go and become a wanderer and get a chance to find love. Of course, there was Hinata, who said that she loved him, but he just couldn't return the feelings. At best, she was a friend, and at worst she was a stalker. She did nothing to support him except watch from afar and cheer for him, but that was to be expected from a friend. He knew her feelings were honest, but in truth, they were merely admiration. No matter how courageous she became, she still needed his support, but he couldn't do that. He couldn't be her pillar of constant strength. He needed someone that could stand with him, not behind him. If he wanted to become Hokage, he knew it would be a demanding job, and a wife would be the source of his strength. He knew that she could not handle it, any relationship would become strained until the position could be settled down. He couldn't trust Hinata with that responsibility and be her strength as well as his own. It would lead to things they would both regret. Then there was clan issues. While Hinata said that she would get rid of the caged bird seal if she married out of the family, clan heir or no, she would be branded, including his own future children. Once that happened, she would no longer be able to be a clan head and thus never accomplishing her dream. Even if he loved Hinata, there was no way he would subject his children to being branded. In this new world, almost anyone had a chance of love, even the stupid people that just look pretty. He was no longer branded an idiot, but then again he was branded a nerd in his current location, so it was a total 180. He really cared for Eliza, she was exactly what he needed if he were to say it honestly. From what he could tell from his parents, his dad kept his mom in check and helped calm her down, otherwise he doubted she could sit still and raise him. It seemed he inherited that from his mother, he needed someone to keep him tied down and behave, and in all honesty, he could see Eliza doing that for him. That was probably why he fell for Sakura in the first place. She was someone that could keep him in line, albeit with violence, but she wasn't all bad, she just had a bit of a temper and was a bit feisty. He blamed his father for liking strong-willed women. She was great in the sack too, that was a plus. He definitely needed to thank Anko for teaching him the tongue expansion technique that Orochimaru used. For an evil bastard, he certainly had very erotic techniques now that you think about it. He enjoyed watching her squirm as he was eating her out. He felt Eliza approaching him from the back but held his instincts back, he didn't want to decapitate her. Eliza wrapped her arms around his chest and pressed herself against him. Naruto turned his head to look at her and was captured in a passionate kiss from Eliza. His tongue probed her mouth while she moaned and fought for dominance, but she was quickly defeated. They departed and left a trail of saliva that connected to their mouths. "Morning," she said with a big grin on her face. "That was one hell of a good morning. I wouldn't mind having one every day," he said. "So does that mean we're an item?" Eliza said, wanting to make sure. If they weren't then he'd have him smited. I think it sounded more like a proposal in all honesty. That caused the girl to blush. But yes, we're an item. They smiled at each other. You know, it's still the weekend. I'm sure we can find something to entertain ourselves with. She said in a husky voice. What could she say? She needed a release, a rather pleasurable release it will be too. All Naruto could do was sum it up in 5 words. God, I love this woman. Hey Naruto, where were you born? Naruto said, with a mouthful of food. It's just that you never tell me about yourself. All I know how old you are and where you live. Well, it's not fair that you know so little about me too, but I figured might as well start. She said, holding a burger on her hands. Oh yeah, he was in a bind. It had been about a month since they started dating, to his surprise nothing really changed. All that happened was that she frequently came to his house now and stayed over for any number of days. Not that he minded, he enjoyed when she came over, especially since she was not shy at all about showing off her body. You would think she'd be uptight and very prim and proper, but behind closed doors. Oh how he was reminded to show affection to her repeatedly. Apparently from what she said, she had a lot of pent-up release she's gathered through the years that she needed to release. He didn't mind, he was used to violent outbursts and even dressing downs from his teammates, he was perfect if you thought about it. But now he really wasn't sure what to tell her. How was he going to explain that he was from another world that got sucked into their current world by some freaky mix of some dangerously unstable things and that he was an assassin and he had enough power to bring the world to its knees if all the civilians were to go by? The answer, half-truths. It was standard usage in the shinobi interrogation. Many captured ninjas would at some point give up information, but they either contained some truth or lack essential information, but since it was the truth, one could not pick it up by machines or even using truth serum. Although he didn't know how Anko and Ibiki got all their information, maybe they scared the guy so badly he lost his ability to think and blabbed out everything, including how good his wife was in bed. Anko was really easy to bride. That's how he knew that. I don't really know where I was born. All I know is that I came from a village called Konoha. I don't really know much about my baby days, I'm an orphan. Naruto said with a melancholy smile. While his childhood might not have been the best, he didn't regret it. His parents gave up their lives so that he may live as well as everyone in the village. While they might have feared him for what he contained, he really couldn't blame them. If anything they helped him grow up to the man he was. He never regretted becoming a Jinchuriki because in the end he made a lifelong friend. Oh I'm sorry I didn't want to bring up bad memories. She said. Don't worry about it, I made the most of it, now look at me. I'm going to a university, I have a home that I'm comfortable in, and I have a hot girlfriend, how much more can I ask for? Naruto said with a smile, it also seemed to help change the subject. The family for one. She chimed in. Yeah, that's a good point wait what? Naruto turned his head fast that it almost snapped. He wasn't expecting the subject to change to that. What? Do you intend to have your way with me and dump me later? She asked with a raised brow. No. It's just too soon. I mean, we've barely gone out for a month. I mean, we're still in classes and I don't want to lose you because we got together too fast. Naruto said, his panic evident in his voice. Eliza just giggled, he looked so cute whenever he looked like an idiot. But she had to press on, he wasn't going to live forever and she wanted to spend as much time as a family as possible with him. You're just looking for excuses. Do you not want to get married? Do you actually have a reason to not get married with me? She said, poking him in the chest rather hard. His face turned red, she knew how much he liked it when she showed her abrasiveness, he liked it when his girl was feisty, not that she had a problem with that. Naruto on the other hand couldn't help but think he wanted to spend the rest of his life with the girl. She was perfect in his opinion, which oddly reminded him of his mother that time they met. He barely met his mother and he felt like a mama's boy. But what she said was true, he didn't really have any actual reason not to marry her. It might have been fast but in reality, due to his ninja mindset, it was relatively okay. Enjoy it while you can is what Jiraiya would say before giggling away to find a good spot to peep during their honeymoon. He thanked God that Jiraiya wasn't writing his smut yet until his mother was pregnant, he did not want to read his parents getting their freak-on. Well I don't really have a problem with it Naruto dragged on. Good, now we're officially engaged. Now let's go celebrate. She said, grabbing his arm and dragging him out of the restaurant before managing to pay for their food. I feel like I was just cornered by a beast. I wonder if that's how dad felt. Naruto thought. What he didn't know is that while Minato was smart, he was inexplicably dense. So much in fact that even with Kushina hanging all over him he didn't get the message. It wasn't until Kushina literally told him upfront that they got together. It was also Kushina who proposed to Minato because it took Minato over 4 years to get the timing right ironically it was identical to the conversation he just had with his new fiancée. A month later. Naruto had set out to fight his rival as he started calling the woman now. It was actually very funny when he brought it up to his wife-to-be. Or rather, it was very dangerous. She pretty much walked up to him, grabbed his ball and squeezed them until they hurt and then muttered next to his ear. "These are mine. No one else can grab them." Got it? Needless to say, all he could do was nod. He was excited to face his rival, she was the only one that he knew of that could give him a challenge, and she didn't even question how he got so strong. It was awesome, sometimes the universe seemed to go in his favor. On the other hand, Artemis had been a bit nervous. She had been thinking about the challenge for 2 months. When she got back to her hunters they were naturally concerned, but she said she found something interesting and decided to stay for a while longer to investigate. She really didn't want the girls to go crazy that she made plans with a man to meet again. Then as the days went by, those thoughts started to get influenced, especially by the chatterbox known as Aphrodite. She kept talking about the men she's met, the fun things they've done and so on, and fights and so on. It seemed that she came to Artemis to side with her for some reason. But as Aphrodite talked, she kept seeing similarities between Aphrodite's dates and her challenge with the blonde. Damn Aphrodite. Why did she have to unintentionally complicate things with the only man that she took an interest in? She felt like a tsundere character from the stories her brother read. Stupid brother, going to Japan just to read and play their porn. She really hoped that the blonde she was thinking about wasn't a pervert. And there she goes again thinking about a rival. That was exactly the reason she didn't want to get into relationships, they complicate things. It wasn't like she never liked men before, but she didn't love, especially the love-crazed ones from before. She wanted women to abstain from sex until they were married, but she wanted them to enjoy sex once they were married. So in reality she had no hate for men specifically, just the crazies. Damn rumors. Just because she didn't like men that were purely attracted to her by looks doesn't mean she was a bitch. Yo. A voice said behind her. Let it be known that on that day, Artemis the goddess of the moon and hunt and all that jazz, did not eep out loud. Don't do that. How did you sneak up on me? She yelled. Damn, her heart was pounding. Naruto tried to prevent his snickering. Sorry, I used my super ninja moves to get behind you. That got him a smack behind the head. Stupid answers get a smack on the head. She huffed. It was the truth though. He muttered. He figured that no one would believe him anyway, might as well use it as a joke. Regardless, are you ready to continue? She asked, she wanted to get rid of the blonde, and if that meant beating him senseless, then so be it. Actually I wanted to talk about that. He said. Since we're so evenly matched, I thought maybe we should look at this challenge from a different perspective. What do you mean? Artemis asked. Why compete at what we're both good at when we can compete at what we're worst at? We'll never beat each other physically, so why not in some other challenge? You may have a point. They weren't getting anywhere with how they were doing before, so why not? What do you propose? Well, first we have to figure out what we're bad at. Naruto said, his face assuming his thinking pose. Artemis was deep in thought. It wasn't a bad challenge if one thought about it. But still, what was her worst skill? All things hunting was good, she knew how to keep order if being the mother hen in the gods' meetings had anything to do about it, but that was all her job. What about her personal life? Well, she had an annoying brother. She had the hunters that she cared for. She had respect from her family. The only thing someone, namely Aphrodite, complained about was her relationship with the opposite sex. She muttered unknowingly. Opposite sex? What? You just muttered opposite sex, you have trouble with guys? He asked. Well yes, no, but it's complicated. She said, not wanting to divulge information. She was just a regular human right now. There was no need to turn him into an antelope. Well then, we found your weakness. Naruto couldn't suppress the grin forming on his face. Which is? She asked. You're going to pick up a guy. It was humiliating. Of all the things to do, that damn blonde had to take her to a club. She never liked those places. Loud music, smelled of sweat too much, and the drunk young adults practically had no sense of decency. What was worse was she had to flirt and pick up one of them. This was not a thing, this was not a place. She could see her rival laughing his ass off out of the corner of his eye. That bastard. Her eye was twitching, oh how she wanted to turn them into some form of animal right now, maybe even a worm. Maybe even lower, dirt maybe. You'd look like a big thing my bed. A rather heavily drunk man said, looking around age 23. He was totally intoxicated and was trying to get Artemis, who for the life of her couldn't understand the man's gibberish. No way, she's too hot for you. As for me, well, another guy to her left cried out. His girlfriend happened to be next to him, smacked him on the head before huffing away. No way, she's mine. Fuck you. She let out a sigh. This was the reason that she never liked places like this. She attracted too many guys, and sometimes women. She never liked that kind of attention, the attention of purely physical relationships. She wanted something on a spiritual level, and back in the old days, women were thought of less than men, so it kind of killed her drive to find someone. Now, I'm sure she'd rather go with me, won't you beautiful? A rather smooth-looking man said. Oh, she hated those kind of people. The playboys, the suave kinds, or any of those guys that hounded after the girls, especially the drunk ones. But in this day and age she couldn't just whip out her bow and shoot a man in his nads, no, that's illegal. Sometimes she hated the modern age. She felt the man grab her arms and started dragging her away. I'm sure I'll make it worth your while. He said, his teeth practically shining. Oh, that was it, he was getting turned into something lower than dirt. So low the rating would be him, the dirt, the worms in the dirt, the animals crap, the animals, humans, demigods, her hunters, and gods and then her. About time I found you, I was worried I wouldn't find you, let's go, I bet you're hungry. Naruto suddenly popped out of nowhere in between her and the man. He grabbed her arm before starting to leave. The other man grabbed his shoulders in an attempt to stop him. Hey, where are you going? I'm sure the lady wants to stay here. Isn't that right, beautiful? He said. He didn't notice the fist flying towards his face. Let's go. Naruto said with a cheerful smile, leaving an agonizing victim on the floor. They walked out of the club and it was very quiet between them. Neither of them wanted to speak to each other because they felt if they opened their mouth, they would make it much worse. I'm sorry. He said. Why? She responded, having no idea why he was apologizing. I got sucked into winning, I forgot to think about you. I saw that you hated that place, but I did nothing to help. Man, I feel like a jerk. I usually pick up on these kinds of things fast but not anymore. Maybe I'm losing myself. I would never act that way before. He said. Winning wasn't worth losing a friend. His competitiveness got the better of him. Thanks. She said. Maybe men weren't so bad after all. She was seriously regretting coming with him, but strangely now, it felt worth it to see him as he was right now. So, to make it up to you. Let's go and have some fun. Naruto said happily. What? She yelled. He couldn't mean. Movies, food, games, whatever you want, it on me. Oh, that's what he meant. Silly double innuendo. She couldn't help but smile, he was just different. He was making sure that she was happy and he knew when he started to stray from his path. It's a rather commendable ability to have. She really enjoyed her time with Naruto. He was actually very clumsy when it came to the opposite sex. She wouldn't have thought it because he just seemed like the type of guy everyone would like. Even now she could feel it, he gave off an aura that felt like it kept everyone he knew safe. He also seemed to radiate power which confused her, how could a human have that kind of aura? Though she admitted she might have had a thing for strong men. So you never told me what was your weakness. What is it? Artemis asked, she was really curious, what could make a man like Naruto fall to his knees? Naruto just smiled and closed his eyes giving a sad smile. I guess it's that I can't save everyone. He looked at Artemis who had a questioning look. I train myself to become strong enough to defend myself and anyone precious to me. But I know I can't save everyone, but I can't give up like that. I'd rather throw myself into the fire to save a friend, even if that friend wants to kill me for it. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not very good with words. He said rubbing the back of his head. Artemis nodded. You know you can't save everyone, but you won't give up because it's impossible. You'd rather try and die than give up. That's what you were saying, right? She said. Ah, yeah, that. Man, you're smart, how come I didn't think of that? He muttered. Because you're an idiot. She said playfully, she got a glare from Naruto. But you're a nice idiot who would do anything to protect his friends, and I happen to like those kinds of idiots. She said with a smile. Naruto just scratched his cheeks and gave an awkward laugh. He still wasn't used to being praised. Thanks, it means a lot. Don't get an ego. I was just telling the truth. She huffed. Naruto gave a deadpan look. You just had to say that. And you looked so cute just then. Naruto said. Idiot. She said with a slight blush on her cheeks. But I'm your idiot. He said grinning. Damn straight. She said, smiling. They left it at that, in comfortable silence. Artemis thought idly of what a relationship with Naruto would be like. Eventually in every kind of relationship, each one thinks of how life with the other could go with, Artemis preferred to do it sooner than later. She admitted that she wouldn't have minded. Sure, he may be a bit of an idiot and rude, and a bit of a pervert. She caught him ogling her ass one time. Those flaws were easy to get past, and she could tell it would be fun to be around him. Naruto had similar thoughts, albeit at a lower degree. He thought they really clicked, but he was in a relationship already. He wouldn't cheat on his wife-to-be, not in a million years. So he would settle for being a rival best friend, kind of like xxAkuxx except with his emo-ness, and they actually got along. Just then they heard ringing. Artemis looked in her pocket and brought out a phone. It was what she used whenever she walked around with the humans, and if Olympus needed to contact her, it would be through the cell phone. Yes, really. Right now. Fine, see you there. She said as she hung up. Sorry, I have to go, business came up. She said. No problem, I should really be getting back, here have my cell phone number if you're ever around in Cambridge, Massachusetts. He said, handing his phone number to the disguised goddess. Thanks. She muttered in thought to what was going on in Olympus. Until next time. He said and started walking away. Artemis, just barely registering his goodbye, snapped out of her concentration. She figured that maybe he deserved a bit of a reward for giving her a good time. Just a small kiss on the cheek. That was normal for a first date, right? As she snuck up on the blonde, ready to surprise him by kissing his cheek, he turned around. And came into contact with Artemis's lips. There was an unholy silence. They just looked at each other in shock. They were completely not expecting what just happened. Naruto was about to say something when he accidentally let his tongue roll out and caused Artemis to moan involuntarily. Now they were blushing and French kissing on total accident. They separated after a few more grueling seconds later and looked at the trail of saliva that connected them. They both said, avoiding each other's eyes. It never happened. Artemis suddenly demanded. What? Naruto said, shocked. Happened. Got it. She stressed each word, it would have had more of an impact if she wasn't a blushing mess. You understood. Naruto said shakily. Good. She said as she stiffly walked away. All in her mind right now was, why did he have to taste like ramen? Naruto was silently hoping his fiancée didn't have some sort of sonar that detected that sort of thing. Women have some sort of keen ability when stuff like that happened. 3 days later. Athena was mad, scratch that she was furious. What had that idiot Poseidon done this time? He was found having a child after they made that pact to not have a child. Oh, she knew they would break it eventually, all of them already had, in fact, they were just seeing who had the bigger at that point. But now that stupid barnacle breath had to get Zeus to pass a law that they cannot interact with humans for more than a release because they were becoming human. What a load of dribble. Now she had to go back and be the bitch that no one wanted on their bad side. It was common knowledge not to make an enemy out of her because she would destroy you, god or not. But now she was pissed, she had to let go of Naruto now, oh how it would pain her to do so. She just hated being a god sometimes. But she had a duty to uphold, she would find love again someday. She doubted she would have the urge to do for the next 50 or so years, but she had no choice. So there she was, waiting for Naruto to come back from his challenge. Maybe he should let that relationship continue. As much as she loved him, they wouldn't be able to stay together. It would be painful, but it was for the best. Naruto arrived sooner than she would have hoped. But she had to do what he needed. But she wanted to feel that spark once more. That passion which she found only with him. Slowly, she dragged him into the bedroom where they made love. Because in a few hours, he wouldn't remember her. Next day. Naruto walked out of his apartment, for some reason something felt missing, but he couldn't put his fingers on it. Like many things, he shrugged it off, thinking it was nothing. He made his way to the library, deciding to keep reading. He found a woman reaching for a book. Being Naruto, he grabbed the book for her. Here you go, miss. Thank you. She said quietly. Naruto stared at the woman for a second. I'm sorry, miss, but do I know you? No, you don't. She said and quickly departed. Naruto just had a question mark on his head. Athena left in a hurry, she manipulated the mist to manipulate him to a shocking degree, he was really resistant for some reason. Her job was done and she hoped she would never run into him again. Naruto, who was still confused, felt a vibration in his pocket and picked it up. Hello, I'm Naruto. The voice he identified as Artemis said. Artemis, what's wrong? He asked. Can we meet? I need to ask you a favor. She asked. Alright, I'll be there as soon as possible. He said. Things were getting confusing, but he wouldn't leave his friends when they needed him. Thanks. She said. Next day at a hotel. Artemis was really nervous. Why? Because she was about to do the deed. She might gain a bit of infamy for doing what she was going to do, but she wouldn't regret it, she told herself. With the new law that Zeus passed, it made her think about children. While she knew she was going to break her vow one day, she at least wanted it to be with an actual relationship. She didn't want her first child to be born in a loveless relationship, but unfortunately she barely knew a good person to bear a child with. Her thoughts drifted to Naruto. Well, it might have been sudden, she really thought about building a relationship with a blonde, albeit it was a brief thought. It was a rush job, she admitted. But it was the best she could do and she could ask for no better. She didn't really want to have a child with a god, all kinds of trouble there. She wanted to make love for love and not for release, and if a child came from that, then all the better. Naruto appeared just like he said he would, surprisingly fast, she noticed. So what did you need? Naruto said, getting straight to the point. Artemis blushed, she didn't really know how to approach it, she figured a direct approach would be better. "Naruto, I know this sounds strange, but I want you to have sex with me," she said. "What?" Naruto exclaimed, oh he was really surprised. His rival just called him out of nowhere and told him to fuck her brains out. Jiraiya would be laughing and giggling his ass off, but Naruto just had to ask. "Why?" he said. "It's complicated. But think of it like this. I want my first time to be with someone I care about and not an emotionless one," she said. Naruto thought it was some sort of arranged marriage. "Can't you get out of it? Like move to another place or something?" Naruto asked. He liked her but spontaneous sex out of nowhere, he was feeling used. Non-negotiable. "Please, Naruto, I'm asking as a friend, rival, possible lover and everything else. Don't ask questions and do this for me," she said. If she conceived a child she would explain, if not then he would remain oblivious. Naruto was in conflict. His friend was asking for help but it was something that he wasn't comfortable with. But if it was to help a friend. "Alright, but I have a few conditions," Artemis nodded. "If a child is born from this I want to take care of it. I'd rather have the child than it be stuck in a loveless marriage or whatever is going on. I'll take care of the expenses and things like that if you promise to visit him or her every once in a while, a child should have both parents," he said. Artemis nodded, it was almost perfect, it was what she intended, she could just force the child on him since it's against the god laws to keep the child until they've been claimed, but he was willing to take care of her possible child. She really picked a good one she thought. Too bad he wouldn't remember the things she did to him unless she did conceive a child. Artemis pulled him into a searing kiss, their tongues exploring each other's mouth. Their hands exploring every inch of their bodies. They both fell onto the bed where they started rubbing their sex organs through their clothes. Naruto was sure that Artemis was a passionate lover. A week later. Oh, it was not good at all. She left him behind, practically quitting on him like cold turkey, but something bad happened. She couldn't believe it happened, why oh why did it have to happen? No one remembered her thanks to the mist, but that wasn't the problem right now. That last session with the blonde just had to be it, she would have cursed him if it didn't happen. "I'm pregnant," she said. She didn't know whether to cry in happiness or in sorrow. She was bearing a child to her beloved Naruto, but how would he take it? She had no choice but to accept it. She bore a child to Uzumaki Naruto. Oh how she hoped he would be understanding. She made it a point to go meet him when her child was born, but first she had to get Zephyrus, the west wind, to keep his mouth shut when he delivered the child. At the same time. Artemis was in a happy mood. Why? Because it was the first time she had had sex with someone and she liked it. She regretted that she had not done it before, but no use crying over spilled milk. But what she was more happier about was that the act conceived something much more beautiful. She was pregnant with the child of Uzumaki Naruto. She had no problem with it. She was happy to have the father of her child be him. Though she had to figure out a way to keep it a secret from her brother and the hunters as well as the other gods. But she needed someone to take the baby to him to not arouse suspicion to who the child belonged to. She figured she could convince Hermes to do it, he was a tad of a pushover in her opinion. She also wanted to see the look on his face when he found out he banged a goddess. 9 months later. Naruto remained oblivious to what was happening on the other side of the world known to the gods and demigods. All Naruto knew is that he was under some sort of spell that prevented him from knowing things. But as long as it didn't get him killed he was okay with that. He moved away from Massachusetts because it became too peaceful for him. He moved to San Francisco, just for the hell of it. He was enjoying his life, but he still couldn't get rid of the nagging feeling on the back of his head that something was going to happen that would have him by the balls. He heard a knock on his door, which was strange because it was in the middle of the night. He opened the door and found a man holding a cradle. Well, he didn't care about the man, he couldn't help but stare at the child. She had blonde hair like his, but her eyes were gray, like someone else's he couldn't put his finger on. "Can I help you?" he said to the man. The man just let out a gruff. "The mother asked me to bring her. She said to wait for a bit," he said. Naruto nodded, if anything happened he was confident that he could escape with him and the child safely. Then he heard a cough behind the man. Both of them looked at the direction of the cough and found a man, flying on winged shoes. Now that brought some questions. Can I help you?" he repeated, almost sure where the conversation was going. "Yeah, I'm here to leave this little brat. She's a handful you know," he said. Naruto stared at the baby the man was carrying in a cradle. Again the baby had the same color hair as him, but the child's eyes were goldenish that reminded him of another person. The first man looked at the blonde adult and shook his head. "You lucky bastard." "Eh?" The winged man, now understanding the situation, also shook his head. "Wow, this is a first, what do you think Zephyrus?" the winged man said. "I'm not sure, but I better get rid of the poor guy's perception." He must be going crazy with all the mist focused on him. Isn't that right, Hermes? The man said with a smirk. Oh crap. Gods exist. If so, then does that mean so do the others? Suddenly a whole bunch of memories came back to him. He remembered Eliza, and he remembered Artemis, and he remembered everything. Oh son of a bitch. I'm dead, I am so dead. Naruto muttered, the two men just chuckled. You will be soon enough. A voice said from behind him. You better have an explanation for this, Naruto. Another familiar voice from behind said. Naruto slowly turned around to stare at the familiar figures of Athena, goddess of wisdom and battle, who he just figured out who she was, and Artemis, the freaking goddess of the moon. Why is it always me? He couldn't help but mutter. He's dealt with corrupted businessman trying to take over a country, fought a battle against fate with Niji, fought Ichibi, survived Orochimaru on a constant basis, survived Akatsuki, saved various countries, saved a priestess, became a hero, and then became a national hero, but he was helpless against the might of two women. Well, at least you can say that you are the only human that banged two goddesses. That's gotta be some luck there, buddy. Hermes said while grinning. You're not helping. He yelled and caused the two men to laugh. Naruto. Both women said in synch. Naruto had only one thing to say. Women are troublesome. Doing the impossible again. There were only so many words that could describe the situation Naruto was facing right now. A shitstorm of epic proportions capable of destroying the universe did not cover it. Not one bit. He could almost feel his balls shrink. Stupid balls. Naruto thought. You got me into this. Sure, blame the balls for every single thing. Right now he was sitting on the couch across from Eliza, now named Athena, and Artemis, now named Artemis. Not much creativity there. Athena had him in a death glare while she breastfed her daughter. Artemis was busy cooing their daughter, who seemed to be a ball of energy. Naruto couldn't help but ogle Athena's breast and had one thought at the moment. They grew. That got an even deadlier glare from Athena, though she was smirking that she was paying attention to her and not Artemis. Zephyrus and Hermes, well, they were too busy containing their laughs at the misfortune of the blonde. Naruto couldn't really hold it in anymore. He could handle guys laughing at him, but not when his wife, girlfriend, whatever, was breastfeeding his daughter. Shut up and wait in the next room. The adults need to talk. He hissed at the other males. Hermes, who was still on the floor trying to prevent himself from ripping his gut, chose to antagonize the blonde. Make us. We're gods. Zephyrus, who had enough, decided enough was enough. As he started to pick himself up to go to the next room, he caught the glint in the blonde's eye. Naruto, who was getting more and more pissed at the messenger of the gods' attitude, decided to put the hurt on him. The most painful way possible. Athena and Artemis were about to yell at Hermes to go away, suddenly stopped as they saw their individually said as her man walked up to Hermes. Hermes didn't register anything until it was too late. By then his eyes were wide open, in pain. He looked at the blonde who was now stepping on his crotch. He watched as he lifted his foot and stomped again and again and again. So much pain. Listen, you idiot. I don't care if you're a fucking god. This will hurt, and this will be your usual punishment if you don't listen to me. Are you clear? Naruto hissed quietly, reminding himself that his daughters needed quiet. Why yes. Hermes squeaked out, his voice sounded fairly high. Yes, what? He said, stomping once more. Yes sir, master, god, just stop. Hermes said, his voice already sounding like a 5-year-old girl's voice. No man can resist the pain of a stomp to the balls, not even a god. Good, now get. He said, causing Hermes' winged shoes to fly to the other room. Zephyrus walked into the room, very protective of his balls. Hermes decided to humor the blonde, and he admitted to himself that he might have been a bit afraid of having his balls crushed. That was Athena started to say, watching her daughter's father in action. Impressive. I like it. Athena said. She didn't hate Hermes, but he was going to stir up her daughter. If he was going to do that, well, fuck him. Now, would you mind explaining to me what's going on? Naruto said, sitting across the two goddesses again. Athena and Artemis looked at each other. They silently agreed that they could rip the blonde a new one after they finish explaining what was going on. It might be too much if they did it before, and they could hold it as blackmail, guilt-tripping information if he chooses not to take care of their daughters. Well, first, let me introduce you to your daughter, Annabeth Uzumaki. Athena said as she slowly passed her to her father. At least he knew how to hold her, thought Athena. Naruto, on the other hand, was observing his daughter in more detail. She had his and her grandfather's hair. She was so small, he felt if he moved too much he would break her. Her tiny fingers curled against his index finger, and the baby opened her eyes. She had her mother's eyes, the same gray eyes that would soon become the same as her mother's. If he had anything to say about it, he would not let his daughter be a dead last. Artemis was in a fairly good mood. She was an actual mother, he owned flesh and blood. She idly wondered back to when she saved many pregnant women back in the past. They always seemed radiant when they saw their child. They wouldn't stop looking at it for a second, she kind of envied it. But now, she understood, it was magical really. Who knew a child could bring such joy in such a short time? She handed the baby to Naruto, albeit a bit reluctant. She wanted to hold her daughter more, damn it. Her name is Tsuki, Japanese for moon, I thought it would fit. Naruto held his daughter with his other hand. She was small. She squirmed in his hand, almost as if wanting to keep moving. A regular ball of energy, just like him and her grandmother, Naruto thought. Her occasional cry was nothing but adorable, she had his hair but had her mother's eyes. A kind of color of yellow that he did not see, not even in the elemental nations. A yellow-like color like when the moon shined yellow, those were her color. He figured since she was the daughter of Artemis, she'd be some sort of hunter in the future. It might pain him later, but if she wanted to join her mother, he would agree with her choice. After all, a father must have unconditional faith in their children. Then something came into his mind. The father. He was a father. He started rubbing his head on his daughter's scalp. His tears streaming out of his eyes. He couldn't help it. He was a father, he had an actual family now. Oh sure, it might bring him all kinds of trouble, but he didn't care, he would protect them. This is what Dad must have thought. Naruto thought. He recalled what his mother, Kushina, told him back when he met her. His father, the Yellow Flash, was crying his eyes out when he was born. He called himself a father, he must have felt what he was feeling now. I've been called many things. A hero, a savior, an idiot, a lover, dope, knuckleheaded, the orange spark, but being called a father is the best one. Naruto thought. I'm a father. He said out loud, smiling while his daughters kept sleeping. Athena couldn't help but let out a soft smile. She knew how much a family meant to Naruto. What he must be feeling right now, it must be as if he was blessed, but it might become a curse if what she has to tell him. She might have been unsure to how Naruto would react when he learned that the Furies might be after his children. Hopefully he would make the right choice and send them away when the time comes. She couldn't help but think that he couldn't catch a break, living as an orphan and struggling to make his way in the world, only to get involved in their dangerous world. Artemis on the other hand was very much okay with leaving her daughter with Naruto. While she may not have harbored as deep as an affection for the blonde as Athena, who was staring at the blonde with a wistful expression, her affections ranged somewhere between like and love. She wasn't really sure what to make of it honestly, because they have in reality only spent about 10 days with each other. She was once again reminded that love is a very powerful emotion. That she cared about the blonde father, no doubt about that, a bit more than she should normally actually. But he was a fighter, that much she knew. Her daughter, she smiled at, that would be taken care of. She was a bit nervous to what her future would bring, but she would be proud of her daughter with whatever she chose. Naruto decided it was time to talk about what would happen. He knew this would bring all kinds of trouble. He really thought it would be best to stay out of whatever was happening in the world, it wasn't his fight. But now he was getting involved to protect his new family. Thus, he lifted himself off the couch and put the babies in their golden cradles, baddest cradles they were. He picked the cradles up and moved them to his room, activating the silencing seals next to his turn on-off switch on the wall. He gave a kiss on their forehead before closing the door behind him. Walking toward the goddesses, he took a deep breath and asked. So, can we start from the beginning? Naruto asked. Artemis and Athena both looked at each other and nodded. They already assumed what he was going to ask. Well, I'll try to make it as simple as possible. You know the gods and goddesses of Olympus. Yes, they exist. Mount Olympus moves to wherever the center of power is in the world, so right now it's America. Athena said. Naruto gave out a sigh, it was already a lot of information, but he had to ask the more dangerous questions too. So, since there are gods, I'm guessing that the monsters from back then also exist. Like the Mino, but he was cut off. Don't say their names. Athena yelled, causing Naruto to jump a little. Names have power, Naruto. It draws them to you. The demigods, the technical term for our daughters, call them the kindly ones for their own protection. Artemis said. So, what about the titans? What about Kronos? If you can't kill a god or titan, then is he still alive? Naruto said. He saw the both of them go rigid slightly. Shit. Athena inwardly cursed at Naruto. Leave it to him to pick up on that little detail. Artemis on the other hand would praise him for his quick understanding of the situation. Grasping the potential dangers even remotely was impressive. It's been taken care of. Athena said with a poker face. Naruto only snorted. You know, for eons old goddesses, you aren't a good liar. Naruto commented, drawing glares from both females. This coming from a two-timer. Athena scoffed, but she immediately cringed when she saw the hurt in Naruto's eyes. She cursed herself, her mouth always got away from her at the important times. She really didn't mean to say it as she did, but thinking about adultery and such disturbing acts with another person. I see. And what about you, Artemis, how do you feel about this? Naruto said, motioning his hands and spreading them showing he meant he was talking about the situation. I want to say I expected this, but I know you're not that kind of person. It still hurts a little though. Well, I do not like to admit it, I'm a jealous person, maybe it's a natural reaction after learning that someone I may love cheated on me, I am not sure. She said. Sorry. That is all I can say. Is there any chance you two still trust me? Naruto asked. They both looked at each other until Athena chose to speak. We are not sure. Naruto was silent. He really couldn't tell them about himself anymore. He had trust issues. Many didn't know it, but he was very insecure about himself. It was a result of his childhood, he could not trust many people, there were only a handful who he trusted his life to back in Konoha. Not even Sakura was on that list because he wasn't sure if she would kill him in order to gain a chance to talk to Sasuke. Trust is a two-way street. If one cannot trust another then it was useless to try. Once trust is broken, it is hard to get it back. I would like to say it wasn't my fault, but I doubt that would fix anything. Naruto said. Artemis didn't hold much against him because she asked him after all. She never asked if he was in a relationship. She brought more trouble to him, right now she knew that Athena had used the mist to heavily influence Naruto's thoughts, making him forget about Athena, part of her wondered if he was feeling used. She did after all asked him for it, but he was still willing to take the blame. Oh, he's so sweet. Artemis thought. Her maternal instincts totally kicking in as she started gushing at how caring Naruto could be. Or maybe it was her hormones. She gave Naruto a smile, telling him that she still cared about him. Athena decided to speak up. I don't know if I can. I want to, but she trailed off. Athena thought it had gotten out of hand. It was the first time dealing with these kinds of feelings, feeling slightly betrayed by Naruto and Artemis, as if they willing went behind her back. But she couldn't fault them, she had a large part in this mess. At the time, Naruto didn't even know what was happening, totally oblivious of their previous relationship, so she really had nothing to complain about since the problem originated from her. She grudgingly admitted to herself that Artemis may be more desirable after you get past the whole I detest men thing, and all that hunting gave her a great figure. Yes, she was jealous, so what? Naruto was saddened. He felt that he lost another precious person. But he let out a sigh. He knew it would happen, but that wouldn't stop him. When has it ever? If there was anything Naruto knew about himself, it was that he proved everyone wrong by his actions, and this was no different. So how exactly do you kill the kindly ones? Just get a knife and stab them? Naruto asked, trying to change the topic to something more neutral. Although he was hoping he didn't have to journey halfway around the world to get some lost artifact that was capable of doing so. It wouldn't be the first time he's done that. You actually need a certain type of metal called celestial bronze. It cuts through them like butter. Artemis said, drawing a knife and throwing it at the table in front of them. And swinging dangerous sharp objects has nothing to do with the cutting power. Naruto says deadpanned. Artemis looked a bit embarrassed. She never really thought about it, of course it would cut like butter, any sharp piece of metal would. But it just needed to be celestial bronze. So nothing else would work. A regular sword, what about fire? Naruto asked. A regular weapon will cut them, but they would grow or regenerate back. The celestial bronze would negate that. As for fire, it will work but it's dreadfully slow. You'd have a better chance bashing it with a stone. Also, even if you do kill them, they will eventually come back. Athena offered her comment. Naruto figured they were a type of sentient life like the Bijuu, so he understood why very quickly. Are there any kindly ones near here? Naruto asked. Actually, we wanted to talk about that. Artemis said. We want you to move. From here. Athena said. Why? Naruto asked. Because this place is basically a nest for them. Artemis said. Just walk outside, you'll see them. Athena said. Naruto did so. He walked outside and he looked around. He immediately spotted things that he was not expecting. Some kind of monster-looking thing hanging from the electric pole, humans or what seemed to be humans walking around with one eye. Even a few looking straight at him. Why aren't they attacking? Naruto commented as he felt Athena and Artemis approach. Because we are here. They wouldn't dare attack you with us here. But still this is unusual. Even if they knew why we were here, this is far too many for it to be a coincidence. Artemis said. Shit. Naruto thought. He honestly thought that he was out of the line of fire, but it appeared that some of them could tell something was off. He idly wondered if the reason they haven't attacked was because they knew they would lose. After hearing Kiba's thoughts of being an alpha and stuff, it would make sense. These monsters were most likely primitive, relying on their instincts. Or maybe they sensed his chakra and couldn't really tell if he was what they called a demigod or if he was just an unusual human. He needed to make sure that he could take those monsters. If there was any time to know it was now, rather than facing a monster by yourself without a god to back you up. Athena, Artemis, can I trust you to keep a secret? Naruto asked. Both of them looked at Naruto confused. Of course, why wouldn't we? Athena said. Not a word. Artemis said. Hopefully you do. Naruto said. Naruto stood up on the railing and aimed his hand towards a bird thing that was close to him. Aiming his hand straight at it, he called. xxAkuxx chakra chains. He had been experimenting with the chains his mother produced to hold the Kyuubi. It took him a full month even with his shadow clones, completely devoting themselves to it to get it right. It was amazing that his mother knew how to do it instinctively. The chain, glowing blue, stretched out and pierced a bird creature with a sharp point at the end of the chain. Naruto pulled his hand back, dragging the bird with him. Gathering chakra to his other hand, his chakra began spinning in the palm of his hand as both Artemis and Athena stared in fascination. When the bird was a few feet in front of them, Naruto quickly thrusted his hands to the monster's face, calling out the name. Rasengan. He said, barely muttering the word but the rest could hear. The bird's face twisted, sending gold dust everywhere as his existence started vanishing as the blue sphere grinded into its body. Its body soon turned to golden dust and the wind blew it away. Silence. And silence broken. What in the name of Hades was that? Athena said. What did the blonde do just now? Artemis just stood there in slight shock. She was surprised, but after seeing so many battles up close, she was more open to the strange things one does. It's what we call chakra. A manifestation of spiritual and physical power. Naruto said, in the most rudimentary way he could. And how do you acquire it? Artemis said, it was deadly useful after all. It's something you're born with. Unfortunately, both my daughters don't have it because your blood overpowered mine. Though they may gain something but I am not sure. Too early to tell. Naruto said. Athena was getting more and more curious, how did she not know he could do that? What are you? She said, honestly she had never seen that kind of power before. That's actually a good question, I have many titles that I've gained in my short life. It was true after all. He was a ninja, a human, a former Jinchuriki, a humanoid Bijuu. He wasn't even sure if he was still human to be honest. He was half considering himself a demon, not an insult but a bona fide demon. He wondered if he could kick a god's ass. That would be awesome. I am unpredictable. Naruto stated. Getting a glare from Athena, she did not like not knowing after all. Artemis however could see the humor in it, due to her brother and his current Japanese fetish, she knew Naruto's name other meaning. A maelstrom. What a powerful name. Though she suspected Athena already knew, she was much too focused to see it. Not funny Naruto. What was that? She yelled at him. I can't say right now. I'd rather tell everyone at once than individually. Besides, it's a family secret. Well it wasn't, but since he was the only ninja in the world, it was. Then what are we? You don't consider me family? I gave you a child for God's sake. Athena yelled. That alone does not make you my wife. As much as I wanted to, just saying that you're my wife wouldn't make it so, by human standards at least. Did you forget that you were the one that left me? You manipulated me into not even knowing who you were. Let's face it, when was the last time you married someone and stayed with the father until his death? Were you ever married? Would the rest of the gods even allow you to marry a mortal? Your words right now mean nothing to me, at this point, marriage to a god is only by words. I have never heard of you staying with your son or daughter after giving birth, how will I know that you won't have other children with someone else? Naruto questioned. Naruto understood, after all, those weren't his first children. He had a duty to perform, and he did what was necessary. At least he left a legacy on that world. He knew it was totally uncalled for to say that to her, but he needed to get the point across. Athena stayed quiet. It was true after all. She twisted his memories to make him forget her. She wouldn't be able to marry him because he was immortal, it would end eventually. He couldn't be offered immortality because he was not a hero. They weren't a family, he was only a dunner at this point. This isn't a relationship I want. A relationship built on the wrong reasons. I love you, I truly do. But this I want an actual mother for my child. Not the kind who would blindly follow their parents. I wonder when Annabeth is old enough to meet you, will she call you mom or will she call you Lady Athena? Naruto said. Athena was quiet. Naruto could see she was hurt. But it had to be done. Staying in a relationship with her would only bring more disaster than he could handle. He wasn't willing to be reckless now that he was a father. Athena just walked away, not turning back, she disappeared after she got far enough. You're an idiot. He heard, it came from Artemis. I know. Why did you do it? She asked. It needed to be done. He said. Why? Artemis, from what I managed to piece together, gods aren't allowed to raise their children, right? She nodded. Then that means she cares more for the rules than for family. I care for my family above anything else. Even if I make Olympus my enemy, I'll fight to protect them. Naruto said. Against Olympus, that's ridiculous. One person can't stand up against a god, let alone a human. She said. Then she heard light giggling. Then it became a chuckle, then full-blown laughter. For a moment she wondered if Naruto had gone insane. "Well, it wouldn't be the first time I've killed a god," he said. Thinking back on the Juubi. It was a truly frightening creature. Even incomplete, it was dangerous, it was certainly a monster on its own to create the world he lived in. Artemis was startled at that. Did he really kill a god? With that ability he showed, who knows what he was capable of. "Will you hurt them? The Olympians or the children?" she asked. "No, not unless they throw the first punch," he said as he walked back into his house, fully intending on moving somewhere else to get away from the monsters. Artemis decided to place her trust in Naruto. She knew that was what he wanted. She knew the kind of person Naruto was, she understood him easily. It kind of confused her that she knew Naruto that well in such a short time. She decided to leave it to Naruto because she knew that his heart was where it mattered most. She kind of envied his daughters. To have such a father. Unknown. That idiot. That no good, lying idiot, that's what he is. Athena thought. She was with that idiot for months and he thought that she could fool her. She understood Naruto's mentality. If anything did result from what happened, he would take the blame. It hurt to see him like that. Bearing the weight of responsibility. He didn't even know what the gods were capable of, but then again she didn't even know what he was capable of. She had to trust him, he trusted her to keep up the charade, and she would. Why? Because she loved him. Back in the apartment. Naruto sighed. Why did it always have to get so complicated with him around? Why couldn't he just find someone, have a child and live the rest of his life in peace? Wow, he was thinking like Shika. Good ol' Shika, crazy cloud watching bum. He kicked the door where Hermes and Zephyrus were, causing two thumps to be heard from the other side. "Come on out guys, I got questions for you," Naruto said. He heard grumbling from the other side before the two gods decided to come out. "So, what the heck are you? Don't tell me that bullshit you told the girls. I'm more savvy than the other gods. I know more of how humans think than they do," Hermes said. "You got to spill it, man. We're bound by the bro code," Zephyr said. Zephyr's power lies with wind, flowers and plants. It reminds me way too much of hippies. Thus his attitude will be similar. "Bro code?" Naruto asked. "It is the book by which all bros must obey," Zephyr said. Hermes shook his head at the west wind's antics. "Ignore him, he can at least keep secrets. You can trust me," Hermes said. "Says the god of thieves," Naruto retorted. "Good point," Hermes said. "Oh how that came to bite him in the ass so many times. I'll hold you to it then. Honor among thieves as they say," Naruto said. "You're a thief?" Hermes asked. "Not exactly," Naruto said. "Then?" Hermes trailed off. Naruto suddenly disappeared, startling Hermes. He looked around wildly, looking to see what happened. He stopped when he felt metal touching his neck. How did he? "I'm a shinobi," Naruto said darkly. "Shinobi as in a ninja. That is awesome dude," Zephyrus cheered. Heems felt the metal leave his neck. He sure wasn't expecting that. But he shook it off, ninjas existed once, not much of a shock to see them around, even if they were more badass than before. "So what did you want to ask?" he said. "I want to know who's in charge. Are they pricks? Am I supposed to do something specific with my kids? Or do I just let whatever happens happen?" Naruto asked. Hermes didn't see any reason not to tell him. The big three have the most power. Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon. Zeus gets pissed off really fast so don't mess with him. Hades has some sort of fetish for violence, not sure what kind, I'm guessing it comes with a job. Poseidon is the more sensible one when it comes to regular stuff, but he's middle ground for both of them. The others can be against him or for him. As for the demigods, you take them to Camp Half-Blood when you can. The sooner the better because they'll come chasing them eventually. As for letting things happen, that's totally up to you. You can do whatever you want, just know that there's a chance that you can die." Naruto kind of figured what type of people would be in charge. Ruling for eons would have that effect, he concluded. Camp Half-Blood, he'd have to check that out someday. As for leave it up to whomever. Screw that. He was in another world, he'd screw fate and destiny so hard that they'd be knocked out while he proceeded to change everything. "So, is that everything?" Hermes asked. "Just about, I think I can handle myself from here on out," Naruto said, getting a nod from both gods. "Good luck, you're going to need it," Zephyr said. Naruto nodded, and just like that the gods vanished. Naruto thought a bit and concluded that Hermes was a messenger, he needed to be fast, and Zephyrus was the wind. You can't really see wind leave. Naruto walked back to his room and watched his daughters sleep. He promised himself that no matter what, he would always be there for them. 6 years later. "Daddy, look at what I did to Bayo," screamed Suki, pointing at a dartboard that had an X symbol made of darts. The young girl was jumping up and down as she was grabbing her father's hand, trying to get his attention. Naruto was making some food, ramen. His daughters had a taste for it, but never to the extent of their father. Still he loved to cook for them. "Give me a minute honey, I'm almost done," Naruto said. It still shocked him how much he had changed. He acted like a stay-at-home dad, it was kind of embarrassing. "Okay daddy," she said. "Tell your sister to come and eat. Wash your hands okay?" "Okay." She cheered as she went and ran to her sister. Naruto thought on what had happened so far. Ever since he started raising his daughters, everything had changed. He was no longer impulsive or an idiot. He actually became a lot like his dad. He was in a bit of a panic when he first started raising them, but thanks to his godfather's books, he didn't really need to work. At first it had been difficult, especially with Tsuki. She was a regular ball of fire, always crying and wanting food. Her sister Annabeth was a lot more quiet, something he appreciated. But he had to admit he was a bit concerned because she spent most of her time reading than interacting with people. He thankfully didn't have to worry about the kindly ones for a while. He had been experimenting with them for a while. When he first started, he wanted to figure out just how could they tell they were demigods. Was it by smell? By look? Or maybe it was something else. He first started with smell. With the help of the chakra chains, he was able to capture and keep one trapped. At first he let out a concentrated ball of air in the monster's chamber to see how it would react. They did react, but only when the smell was near enough to them. It did not explain how they could find them from far away. He put up a video linking it to his daughters, they did not react. He started thinking. Maybe it was similar to sensors back in his world. So he started to experiment a bit. It was easy to produce the same aura as his daughters. With a bit of Fuinjutsu and some blood, he could siphon that aura and make a clone of it, he called it Fuinbunshin, seal clone. The results were instantaneous. The monster attacked right away. So now it was a matter of stopping or limiting that aura. But that would be hard, the aura was basically their existence. How could he erase existence? But that was it, he couldn't, so he chose another way, confuse it. After many tests, he found a solution that would work. He applied it to his daughters, whenever they went out, it would activate, shadowing their demigod heritage, preventing any monsters from even looking at their direction in suspicion. He also discovered that the less his daughters knew, the better it would be for them. So unless they ran into another demigod he had no obligation to tell them. "Morning Dad." He heard a voice. It was Annabeth. She was holding a book underneath her shoulders. "Annabeth, no reading on the table," Naruto chastised. "Oh, come on Dad, please," she asked with childish persuasion. Naruto sighed, it seemed he could never bear to tell his daughters no. Unless it was something important he would never not say okay. He wanted his daughters to have everything he didn't. Well, they didn't have a mother, he hoped it was enough. What he didn't know was that his daughters had been keeping the women away from their dad. They had seen how they looked at him and didn't like it. Even their own teachers looked at him the same way. It annoyed them to no end. He was their father and no one would take him. They were really protective of their dad. To them, they didn't need a new mom, he was enough. "Okay, but remember to be careful," Naruto said. "Okay why?" Annabeth said, grinning. Her daddy never said no unless it was important. They sat there eating their food. Annabeth was talking about buildings and how she would like to see them one day, while Tsuki talked about any sports she had played. Naruto thought they were opposites. Annabeth was the brains, much like Shikamaru, and Tsuki was the finesse, like Hinata or Niji. It was weird how well they got along. After they were finished, Naruto drove them to school. Annabeth wanted to go to a private school to learn more and Tsuki joined because she didn't want to leave her sister. While she was smart and capable of taking care of herself, she sometimes ran her mouth a bit too much and made the wrong person mad. He got out of his car and dropped them off at the gate. He caught the glances from the other females and his daughter's death glares, it was pretty funny to watch his daughters trying to keep the women away. Sure, he was hoping to get a wife eventually, some part of his mind hoped he could still marry Athena or Artemis, but he knew it would be a complicated relationship. Honestly, they were the talk of the school. All of them were blonde, which drew some attention to them of all ages. There was also the fact that all of them had different eye colors. It wouldn't be much of a problem, but people rarely see a shade of blue, the kind that Naruto had, gray eyes like Annabeth or yellow amber eyes like Tsuki. That and they were very active, Naruto and Tsuki more so than Annabeth. While Annabeth did like moving, she enjoyed reading much more. Tsuki took after her father a lot, she reminded him of his childhood self. He was happy to see his daughters smiling every day. Though it did bother him slightly that they had ADHD and dyslexia, but not much. It only made him worry that they would not have many friends, he could care less if they were even slightly below normal, he wasn't one to judge that badly. Though he did have anger toward emos. Those pricks. He had already encountered several monsters. It seemed that they were more sensitive than he thought. Even as newborns they could somehow sense the rudimentary tug to where demigods were. But thanks to his training that he had been doing and a few ninjutsu, those monsters were easy to take care of. He decided to read up more about Greek monster or any monsters in fact. He could never be too careful, if gods existed then maybe demons or aliens existed. He was paranoid, yes, but all ninjas were. While some did seem fearsome, he didn't really think much of it, after all he faced a freaking Biju at 12 years old, and various demons later too, and they were the world-conquering kind of demons. He really didn't want to deal with a lot of monsters in the legends. A lot of them had some sort of power, he wasn't looking forward to being turned to stone, it was like the Sharingan all over again. God, he hated that bloodline. Besides training, he needed something to occupy his time. Sure, raising his daughters was a good way to spend the day, but with school, it left an 8-hour gap of doing nothing. He really missed doing missions right now. Sure, learning how to control more elements was great, but it just became a drag eventually. Learning to control gravity, or rather vectors, had been his awesome project of his. Ever since he fought Nagato, he had been thinking about that attack, Shinra Tensei. It was a devastating attack. Both incredible defense and offense. He wanted it. But for the life of him, he couldn't figure out what to do or how to do it. Then he started separating what made the Rinnegan different than naturally acquired things. All 5 elements, people could get them albeit only 1 or 2. The paths, he was sure it was similar to the dead body animation thing Itachi used on him. Special abilities of his path, while absorption could be duplicated with Fuinjutsu, it wasn't practical. Summoning, many could do it. Mechanical body, sci-fi stuff, but possible with Suna puppet knowledge. Human and Naraka path were beyond human measure. Then there was the mastery with yin and yang. Opposites? Was it related to magnetism? But the core of it is drawing and repulsing objects. The base of that was moving. Force, movement, in other words a vector. The first thing he had to do was learn yin and yang release, which was a very slow progress. After all, with those 2 powers, the Rakuto Sennin locked away a primordial god, or at least that's what he thought the Jubi was. He had no Rinnegan, no Sharingan, no other bloodline than what he learned by himself. He had no advantages at the start, nor at the end. All he had was what he made for himself, and he built upon it. He wouldn't have it any other way. A year later. "Daddy, can we go and see the Parthenon in Nashville?" Annabeth said. He blinked. "May I ask why, sweetie?" Naruto asked his daughter. It was really weird for his daughter to ask for anything other than books, she had never asked for something like this before. "Come on dad, please. We're on vacation. It's only like a day's drive from here," she pleaded. She did not understand the meaning of distance yet. "Why do you want to go there?" Naruto asked again. "'Cause I want to see the building," she said, her eyes shining with hope. "Honey, a day's drive is too much just going to see a building," Naruto said. He could never really understand his daughter's love for architecture, he could appreciate it but never be fascinated to the extent of his daughter. But I want to go," she said, her eyes turning watery. His daughter knew how to get what she wanted. In reality, he had no reason not to say no. He had money, he could use a break from training. The only thing that would change his mind is if his other daughter didn't want to go. "Tell you what, if Tsuki wants to go, we'll all go." "Okay," Naruto said exasperated. It was so easy to trick kids to thinking they won. Though he made sure not to spoil them too badly, just enough in his opinion, but then again, normal was over the top for others. "What do you expect, he's in Uzumaki." "Thanks dad," she said, jumping into his arms and giving him a kiss on the cheek before running to persuade her sister to go to Nashville. Tsuki would go wherever her father would go. She adored her father, she was a daddy's girl. Well, both of them were, but if Tsuki would have to choose between following her father or going outside to play, she would pick her father. Why not, he was the best dad ever. When she wanted a bike, he bought her one. When she wanted her own room, he bought her a full set, complete with games and a giant TV. When she wanted to learn how to fight, her dad taught her to be badass. When she wanted to learn how to throw a knife, which was very unusual to ask and she knew. He hugged her and cuddled her like crazy before bringing a wooden dummy and a box of various pointy metal. So you can see why she absolutely loved her dad. She loved her sister too. Sure, she could be a bit geeky and a know-it-all, but she was her sister. If she was ever in any danger, she would rush and beat up whatever boy was bothering her. Action first and then questions later. Her dad said it was wrong to think like that, but he said that about a lot of things. She listened, mostly, but sometimes her mind wandered. Her sister never asked for much except for the occasional book in her own computer, she wanted to see building on it, for God knows what. She was aware that her dad spoiled her friends kept telling her that. Not that she hated it. But whenever her sister comes asking for a favor, she listened. She knew her dad spoiled her more than her, but that was because she asked. Her sister was a bit more reserved, she suspected that she didn't ask for much so she could get brownie points from dad. She knew that their dad loved them both the same, but sometimes a girl needed to feel special. So when her sister came asking if they could go to some museum or something, she agreed. Her sister needed some daddy time too. Even if watching a building is boring. Dad and she wanted to get away for a bit. Her dad got so much attention from women. Even some of her friends couldn't stop looking at her dad whenever he came to pick her up. It made her mad. Especially when you overhear the grown-ups talking about taking him to bed, whatever that meant. But something was telling her that she didn't like it. Annabeth felt the same, they were very protective of their dad. Keeping away the hussies. They had no idea what that meant, but Annabeth said it was supposed to make sense. She was the smart one, so she listened. So it was the perfect chance to ditch them. It had nothing to do with the fact she heard they would accidentally make it a point to meet him by coincidence. So it was the perfect chance. Her sister jumped up and down, cheering. Yup, the things she did for family. Night time. Naruto had been driving for hours. He envied his daughters in the back. It was so unfair, they were just sitting watching DVDs in the car while he looked on the long dirty dark road in front of him. This dimension could be boring sometimes. Why didn't he hurration to Nashville again? Oh right, incognito. He didn't mind though. His daughters were happy, he was happy watching them be happy. No trouble at all. Daddy, I'm sleepy. Suki mumbled. It was already dark, he didn't want to risk being attacked on the road while it was dark. A car explosion would be bad. Okay honey. We'll stop by a hotel and go to sleep. How does that sound? Naruto asked softly. She mumbled okay. But daddy, I'm not tired. Annabeth yawned. Sweetie, the building will be there tomorrow. It's not far from here anyways. The sun needs to be up to see it, remember? He asked. Meanie? She mumbled, clearly tired. I'll buy you some more books over there, how does that sound? Naruto asked. She bobbed her head, books make her happy. Annabeth was a good girl gets books. They stopped at a hotel. Nice place. Near a bridge and a river flowing under it. Annabeth loved it. Suki was drinking soda to keep her awake. Her dad's rule was never drink coffee, he said it made her too hyper. As soon as they got settled in, Annabeth rushed outside. Dad, I'm going to go see the bridge, is that okay? Yes. Okay, bye. She said fast. Naruto looked completely surprised. He cursed himself, he never realized she was that crazy over architect. Annabeth wait. God. He cursed. Of course she would act impulsive, she was his daughter. Suki stay here. He said, putting on his shoes and going to the door. Wait. You want me to stay here? In a hotel room by myself? With who knows who else in this building? It's like the setting for a horror movie. Suki proclaimed. Good point. Get dressed and let's go. Naruto said. Annabeth Uzumaki would swear if her father didn't smack her behind the head whenever she did. She ran out of the room, wanting to look at the bridge. It was nothing big, just a bit off into the distance, like a 10-minute walk, nothing wrong with that. She remembered something that her father once told her. Our family tends to get into the most weirdest and most dangerous situations when we least expect it or when we don't think with our head. He said. She really wished she paid more attention to that. Right now she was staring at some type of monster, flying. It looked humanoid and it was chasing some goth-looking girl with black hair and some other teenager with blonde hair. They were also carrying swords and a golf club. How fast her day went from great to bad. Before she could get her head together, she watched as the monster looked at her and then screeched and started flying towards her. This was just not her day. Where is it going? The gothic girl cried out, watching the kindly one fly off in a different direction. The blonde-hair one looked to see where it was heading to a blonde-haired girl. I think it's going after that girl. He cried out. But why would it? Unless she trailed off. She's one of us. The teenage boy cried out. Oh, this was not their day either. Dahlia Grace and Luke were not having a good day. One of their bases was destroyed and now they were going to another one. But as they were attacked by a kindly one. The kindly one injured Thalia's leg, but they still managed to get away. They got far enough to their current place, but the kindly one found them again. But as it happens, they put another of their own in danger. It wasn't the first Luke had lost someone, he had been traveling for 5 years, so he knew his way around things. But one thing he hated seeing was children dying right in front of him. Quickly taking out a knife, he threw it at the kindly one, causing a tear in its wings and falling to the ground, right in front of the girl, making her stumble back. Get away now. Luke cried out as he ran towards the monster. Thalia was out because of her injury, and he had no celestial bronze, it just might be the end for them he thought. He was too far and he knew he wouldn't be able to reach the girl in time. Annabeth looked in horror as she saw the monster stand up, making a claw with its hand. Was this it? Was that how she was going to die? Some monster. She still had a lot to do, so many things to see. Was she going to leave her sister and father behind? Her father? Her father? On instinct she screamed. Daddy. Her voice rung through the streets. The monster was bringing its hands down on Annabeth. The claw hit air. Annabeth waited for pain, but instead she felt something grab her. She opened her eyes to see her father's glowing blue eyes staring behind them. What just happened? That was awesome. You're awesome, Dad. She heard. Annabeth looked at her dad's shoulder and saw her sister staring at her dad with amazement. What just happened? Luke said out loud. I don't know, all I saw was orange static. She said, in amazement, the man moved so fast. Naruto looked at the creature, how pathetic. He felt no need to hold back against it, it almost killed his daughter. Annabeth, Suki, get off. I have a little business to take care of. He said coldly. Both his daughters blinked, they had never heard him say something like that. Dad, you can't. It's a monster, let's go away. Annabeth cried out. Her father letting her on the floor. She was scared of the monster. Don't worry, sweetie. Daddy will take care of it. I promise. Naruto said, kissing Annabeth's and then Tsuki's forehead. Annabeth looked less worried. Whenever her dad promised something, he never broke it. You can do it, Dad. Kick its ass. Tsuki cried out. Okay, Tsuki. Just don't blink, it'll be over very fast. He said. He looked directly in front of the monster, it looked wary. It had reason too. You don't mess with a fox's kits. When you do, you see a whole new monster. If you don't want to disappear, leave. Naruto said. The monster let out a screech and charged. Figures. Naruto dashed, quicker than anyone could see, appeared below the monster, sending a kick towards the monster's face, making it fly towards the sky. As it was in the sky, Naruto appeared above it and used Rasengan on its stomach, sending it hurtling towards the ground and making a mark on the ground. Naruto then appeared above it, leaving no time for it to react it and shoved it on Rasengan, causing a crater to form where the monster once stood. Naruto smiled at himself, that was awesome. He needed to remember that move. Hiraishin plus Rasengan for the win. He looked at his daughters who looked at him in amazement. That was awesome, Dad. You got to teach me. Tsuki said, running into his arms. Annabeth a second later, crying into his pants. She was still short, she still didn't even reach his stomach. Now, don't cry, Annabeth, Daddy's here. He won't let anyone hurt you. Okay. He said to his daughter, who nodded into his clothes. He sighed, this was more troublesome than he would have wanted it to be. Hey, you two, come over here. He yelled as he watched both the goth girl and the boy stiffen. They were smarter than to go against a man, he was powerful. They were tired and injured, they stood no chance against him. Okay, I know what you two are. Let's go back to the hotel so you can tell me what you guys are doing here. What are your names? Naruto asked. They were shocked. The man knew that they were demigods. Well, his daughters were too, so it wasn't a surprise. They had nothing to lose by talking to him. My name is Thalia Grace. And my name is Luke Castellan. A.N. Who can tell me they saw that coming? Not you, I bet. I know it might not have been as good as my last chapter, but I've been busy. School is a pain and I have 5 papers due and an exam in less than a week and I spent my time typing this. You guys better review and appreciation. I've listened to your guys' opinion and I know I messed up in the first chapter. I based it on the movie. If it helps think of it differently. I am not sure how I should pair Naruto yet. Yes, I know there will be Artemis and Athena, but should I bring in someone else? I admit someone mentions Hestia, the last virgin goddess to bring in. Or maybe demigods. Or maybe even kindly ones. Who knows, I could make Medusa the totally hot Fate Stay Night Medusa. It's tempting, honestly. I can make a WTF moment in Olympus if that happened. Yes, I will be changing things everywhere. Some things will stay the same, some won't, which I hope is an improvement. Anyways, it would be helpful if you guys offer your opinion. Thanks. As a little gift, I'll give you guys a preview. Into the motion once more. Luke for the first time in his life could say he was deathly afraid of the man in front of him. It was strange, he had faced many monsters, an automaton at one point, and even faced Lucrity and lived. But this man could evoke such fear in his with his presence alone. That was a scary thought. What were you two doing this late at night? What were they? They had just got away from the mansion where Halcyon Green once resided. He thought back to the little prophecy he mentioned, it scared him somewhat. They managed to escape with the Aegis bracelet that Thalia was wearing, but as soon as a monster saw she was injured, it thought it might have a chance. It chased them for a while, they were tired and hungry. They were on their last leg a few hours ago. Well, the Aegis was invaluable, one's defense will eventually be whittled down. He honestly wanted to thank the man who was currently hugging his daughter who was still making sniffing noises into his clothes. The other girl seemed to be poking Thalia's bracelet in fascination. Luke tried to explain, but his nerves were still shot. We were running from those monsters. A voice beside him spoke. Does she have nerves of steel or what? Luke thought. Thalia stared at the man in front of her. She really didn't know what to think. From what she could see, he cared about his daughters and somehow trained himself to be able to fight monsters to a frightening degree. She would admit she would love that kind of power. She was kind of irked that the man had such power but didn't say anything, who knew what he had to do to get it after all. He was scary, yes, but it wasn't as if there wasn't other scary things in the world. And if she ever encountered any of them, she'd bash them with her awesome new shield and proceed to rip it apart. When he spoke, it sent shivers down her spine though. It wasn't at all like the voice he used to comfort his daughter. She couldn't blame her though, she doubted she could handle almost getting killed by a monster at her age. What about your parents? The man asked. She immediately stiffened up at the mention of her parents. They were not happy memories. She also felt Luke stiffen, she knew he had problems with his family too, but he hadn't told her yet. It kind of pissed her off too, but it was understandable. I see. The man said. She saw his eyes soften as she felt the oppressive aura he seemed to bring out dissipate. She let out a sigh of relief she hadn't known she felt. Her hands were trembling lightly. She realized she lost control of her body briefly. What a scary person. I should introduce myself. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. These are my daughters. Come on girls, say hi to them. He said, causing the two girls to react. Hi. My name is Tsuki Uzumaki. Nice to meet ya. The girl with a ponytail said, she was an energetic one. Luke and Thalia concluded. My name is Annabeth Uzumaki. The girl said, her crying forgotten, she stood confidently. Luke and Thalia thought she had guts. So, I assume you guys know about this whole demigod stuff? Naruto asked. We know some things but not a lot. Luke said. Like how much? Naruto asked. Like how gods exist and that they come down from Olympus to have children and eventually abandon them. Luke scoffed, earning an eyebrow raise from Thalia. Well, that's one way to describe it. Naruto chuckled nervously. That answer reminded him too much of a duck-haired black-haired man that Naruto was so familiar with. So how do you know? Thalia asked bluntly. Well, as you may have guessed, these two are my daughters. He motioned to his daughters. Suki looked clueless while Annabeth was trying to piece things together. The reason I know is because like your parents, I had a relationship with some goddesses. Naruto said, trying to be as vague as possible. Thalia caught it. Wait, goddesses? As in more than one? She asked almost accusingly. Naruto let out a sigh, of course she would see it, girls have super hearing in these kinds of things. That's right. Suki and Annabeth have different mothers, both of them goddesses. Naruto said. What? Was the all-around response of everyone. Luke, being a male, a teenager at that point, with his body full of hormones, could not help but gaze at the man in awe. After all, banging a model is awesome, and goddesses were worth like 100 of them. The fact that he had a relationship with two goddesses and still live was amazing. However, Thalia was thinking of the activities involved. Currently thinking of some sort of goddess threesome. You're thinking something perverted, aren't you? Naruto asked Thalia, who shook her head vigorously. She was not a pervert. She was just curious. Dad, who's our mom-s? Annabeth asked, tugging her father's collar. Naruto could swear that she was trying to pull him right in front of her face and give him the glare. Annabeth sometimes scared him. Why? Because he wouldn't hurt her for anything in the world, that means he could not beat her like everyone else. The thing about that is, I can't really tell you. It's against their laws or something. Naruto said. He wasn't really sure about it, but he figured it's what it usually is. Unless the gods come and directly tell them, it must be some don't interfere with mortals thing. He just knew it was something like that, it seemed like the typical shonen manga plot. I am a higher being than you, and you cannot know the rules until it is most convenient for me. Firm. Is what the plot was. That's stupid. Yelled Tsuki, throwing her arms up into the air. I don't get it either. Apparently your godparents have to claim you at some camp before you get to know. I think that's just stupid, from the sounds of it, it sounds like there's a chance of them not being claimed. Naruto said casually. He immediately grimaced. He saw the dejected looks on the girls, while Luke gritted his teeth slightly. Thalia shook of her thoughts, it wasn't the time to get depressed. You mentioned a camp. What did you mean? Thalia asked. Apparently there's a camp that houses half-bloods, or demigods you can call them. The camp is called Half-Blood Camp or something. Kind of insulting if you ask me. But apparently it's the only safe place from the monsters. Naruto said. Do you know how to get there? Luke asked. Not really, but the problem should be solved pretty easily if we meet a god. Naruto asked. Isn't that almost impossible? Luke pointed out, it was true, he hadn't met a god yet even after years of wandering around. You just didn't know how. Don't you ever get the feeling that whenever you want to find something, it's almost impossible to find it, but when you aren't you find it immediately? He received nods. It's kind of like that. Trust me, I've been in stuff like this, just go on with your life and we'll eventually run into one. Naruto said. Wait, Thalia said. What? The reason I never told my daughters about this was because the less they knew the better, seriously it's literal. He said quickly after seeing his daughter's head snap to him. There's this mist thing that prevents you guys from seeing things you shouldn't see. He saw Luke's head jolt up a bit. The more knowledge you have about those things you shouldn't know about, the more clearer you will see them, but it's the same for them. They will see you too. Naruto said. The two preteens had enough sense to look sheepishly. Oh, well Luke trailed off. Sorry. Thalia ended. Don't worry about it. I was hoping to train them a bit before actually going, but I guess I'll have to put it on hold. Naruto said. Wait a minute, you were going to train us to do that stuff you did earlier. Tsuki's eyes shined with hope. Are you going to teach us that ball thing you used? What was it? Do something right? Annabeth said, that move looked very powerful and very helpful. Unfortunately, you two will never be as strong as your awesome dad. Naruto grinned, causing his daughters to pout, while Thalia and Luke looked at the two girls with mirth. Sorry girls, but when you two were born, your mother's blood overpowered mine, being godly and all. But since I am stronger than most regular mortals, you guys will probably be able to do things regular demigods can't, or at least do immediately. Naruto said. So that's why Tsuki is crazy with sports, is that why she's so hyper too? Annabeth asked, in her head suddenly connecting the supposed thoughts. Actually no. Naruto said, making Annabeth's sudden realization crash down. She actually got that from me, which I got from my own mother. You Annabeth took more after your grandfather and mother. Naruto said with a grin. Wait, our grandparents? Annabeth said dramatically. How come you never told us about our grandparents? Tsuki questioned. 1, you never asked. Causing all of them to face fault. And 2, I never met them, they died shortly after I was born. Naruto said solemnly. Oh. Both girls said quietly. Don't worry about it, look at me now, I'm loaded and I got 2 beautiful daughters that I couldn't be any more proud of. Naruto said, hugging them, and they enjoyed a family hug. Off a bit to their side, Thalia and Luke glanced at each other. This is kind of awkward. I know. Not to mention embarrassing. Thalia said. So, what are you two going to do now? Naruto asked the preteens, causing them to jump a bit. They shrugged. Naruto spoke. If you're going to camp, I'm assuming you're going to stay there? Naruto asked, which he nodded to. Then at least say goodbye to your parent. Trust me on this, a mother can worry about their child for an eternity and still keep worrying. Well, we need supplies, so I guess I should go home. Luke said a bit nervously. Good, then everyone get to sleep and I'll drive everyone there. Naruto said, to which everyone nodded. Luke took a bed for himself while Thalia slept with both Tsuki and Annabeth. Naruto took the last one. Naruto wondered what was going to happen. These kinds of things don't happen unless something is about to happen. During his time as a shinobi, he had met random people during missions, and in almost every one of them those people tended to be related to the mission. Naruto cursed himself in his mind. He really wished Kurama was here. Sure, he could be snarky, a douche most of the time, but he could really use his constructive criticism. Though if they did ever meet, he was sure he would mention he banged a god. The look on the Bijuu's face would be priceless. He drifted off to sleep, hoping nothing bad happened. Alia Grace was an abrasive girl. Well, maybe abrasive wasn't the word, but it sounded right. She really didn't care much about what other people thought of her. If it did turn bad though, she'd prove it false, maybe with a punch or two. She was a badass chick, she had always known that. At least that's what she thought of herself. Even more badass because she had magical lightning powers. Sure, she didn't have much control over it, but it was still awesome. Though it did bring up the question of who her father was. Now that she knew exactly how she came to be, it was pretty obvious who her father was. It was kind of awesome to be the daughter of the King of Gods, but still, it brought up a lot of questions. Like, you would expect the King of Gods to at least send some help now that she's been on the run for like 3 years. Or maybe send some sort of person to guide her or something like that. But of course, if she knew herself and through an extension her father, he wasn't really the type. She had woken up vaguely recognizing the ceiling of the hotel that she was spending the night in. She let out a sigh, relaxing a bit and thanking God, figuratively, for letting her sleep on a comfy bed. She moved a bit, trying to go to sleep again, but she noticed the lack of obstacles in the form of the kids yesterday. She stood up and looked around to see where they were. She was surprised at what she saw. Somehow during the night, the two girls got up without her noticing and made their way to their father's bed, where they were now. The one she recognized as Annabeth was curled up on her father's left side of his shoulder, burying herself deeper into her father and warming herself with her father's warmth. The other one, Tsuki, was sprawled on top of her father, leaning to the right where she was snuggling deeper into the neck of her father. She had to admit it was incredibly adorable. And she was a tad bit jealous. Why? Because she was sure that parents like the blonde, Naruto was his name, were rare, she assumed. Her mother was a mess for a while after her father left, but that kind of fixed itself after her stepfather came. While she didn't like the guy, she didn't hate him. It was awkward between them. Then her little brother was killed and she couldn't stand her mom going downhill. She didn't want to go down too. After this and that, she had arrived at her apparent savior, who at the moment was staring at her with a hint of amusement. How did she not notice? "Good morning," he said casually. "Yeah, good morning." That was really awkward. "You're way too easy to read, you know that," Naruto told her. "Shut it, whisker face." She grumbled, so she wasn't a morning person, big deal. "Oh? An insult. Does that mean you like me?" "They say girls are mean to people they like," he replied. Eliza snorted. "Don't get ahead of yourself, Whiskers. I insult people all the time. You ain't special. Still, you did save us yesterday, so thanks, but what's up with the stupid question?" she asked. "You're welcome. I got 2 daughters for your information. I gotta learn what a teenager thinks now if I'm ever going to keep up. Women will forever remain a mystery that man will never solve." He sighed. Thalia let out a small laugh, "And you never will." This guy really confused her. Thalia thought he was really weird. So far, he only acted all fatherly when it concerned his daughters, he spoiled them, she could tell that. But when he battled, it sent shivers down her spine. He was ruthless. He said he was human, but no regular person should be able to move that fast or be that strong or be able to use energy balls. If this was a game, he'd be a walking cheat sheet. Though she really wanted to ask how he got that much power. "Then ask," she heard Naruto say. "Don't do that," she yelled, it really ticked her off how well he could follow her thoughts. "Then don't be predictable. Just go ahead and ask, you aren't the type to," he said. He had a point, she wasn't normally that reserved, but she wanted to tread carefully, he was powerful after all. "How did you get so powerful?" she asked bluntly. "I trained," he said simply. "That's it?" "Yup." "What, no teachers?" "Kinda, mostly self-taught." "What was the energy ball thing?" "Pure awesomeness." "You know, I think we can get along." "Ditto." They both grinned. It seemed that she reminded Naruto a lot of how he was when he was younger, except she was much more confident in herself and could back it up. "So, you have electrokinesis," Naruto said. "What is that?" she asked. "Electricity powers," he said simply. "How'd you?" she said, but was interrupted by him pointing at the electric alarm clock and the TV and Annabeth's computer. "Oops," she said. "She's going to nag me about getting her a new one," Naruto groaned. His daughters somehow picked up his ability to annoy everyone around him whenever they wanted. He vaguely wondered if he was the same. Alia looked embarrassed. She hated whenever she couldn't control her powers. "Don't worry about it. She's been wanting a new one anyway," Naruto said. That was a lie, but she didn't need to know that. "Sorry," she responded. What else could she say and do? "Don't worry about it. It was an accident. Truthfully, I expected her to break it a while ago. Looks like she took after her mother, I would have broken it at her age," he said. Alia just smiled, thinking the same thing. Naruto felt Tsuki and Annabeth start to wake up. Somehow, kids seem to get up so early. Stretching themselves, they yawned and stretched their joints. While they did that, their father did the same thing. Almost in the exact same manner. How close can a family be? Thalia thought. Seriously, his daughters copied his sleeping habits. Ah. They rubbed the back of their head the same way too. Kinda freaky. "Mornin' Dad," they mumbled. "Morning, sweetie, honey," Naruto said, grabbing them and giving each a kiss on the forehead before standing up. "Now take a bath and we'll go get breakfast," he told them. They nodded and went about their morning routine. "Wake up, Luke." Thalia attempted to rouse Luke from sleep. "Haha, that's dirty threesome," Luke muttered in his sleep. "Huh? It looks like he's having one hell of a dream," Naruto said, grinning. Thalia was angry. Seriously, that was not the correct thing to say. "BZZZT. Gah," Luke cried out. "Get up, you perv," she said angrily before leaving the room. "What?" he said, that was not a pleasant wake up. "You were still thinking about threesomes from yesterday," Naruto pointed out. "Oh yeah, that was an awesome oh crap. She heard me, didn't she?" Luke whispered to him. "Yup. Seriously, control yourself though. You're with 3 girls now, and if you think one was hard, try dealing with them combined," Naruto said. "Not a good thought," Luke grunted. "So where does your mother live?" Naruto asked. Remembering last night's conversation, he scowled but answered. Westport, Connecticut. It'll take us a few days of hitchhiking though. He responded. Hitchhiking? I can drive at most maybe 2 days or 3. Naruto responded. Oh, right. I forgot that we're actually getting adult help. Hardly anyone cares about us kids. Luke said. Naruto stayed quiet. He knew how he felt. He was alone for mostly his whole life after all. The only people that he seemed he could count on without fail was the Sandame and Iruka. But he didn't need them after he became a ninja and they became someone to voice his concerns, which were rare. After so long, he started to think that adult figures could go to hell. His lack of respect for authority figures sprouted from that feeling. He could tell Luke felt vaguely the same way. He sighed, seriously, he feared that almost all demigods would have some baggage with them, but still it's shocking to see the amount. He heard laughing from the bathroom. He heard Thalia's voice, he assumed she went in there too. That was nice of her, he thought. When everyone finished their daily routines, they went out to eat. Naruto argued with Annabeth and Tsuki that they needed to eat from the kids' menu, but they insisted that they want something from the grown-up menu. They wanted to show off to their new friends. Luke and Thalia just looked amused. A couple of hours later and some awesome radio music later, Annabeth chose to talk. Hey Dad, what were Grandma and Grandpa like? She asked. Tsuki nodded to the question. Naruto looked at his rearview mirror and noticed that Thalia and Luke became quiet. They must be thinking that maybe his parents were gods. I never met them directly, but I heard about them, do you want to hear anyways? Naruto asked. Both girls nodded. Okay. Your grandfather's name was Minato Namikaze. Your grandfather was an orphan like me. He was where I got my color of hair and eyes. He was a man destined for great things. He was a once-in-a-lifetime prodigy. But he carried a lot of responsibility. People placed their hopes and dreams on him. You could say he was a war hero. Your grandma's name was Kushina Uzumaki, she had red hair and hazel eyes. He lied about the eyes, purple was not a normal eye color. She came from a rather wealthy family, but due to a natural disaster, she had to relocate to where your grandpa lived. She was a tomboy and had one hell of a temper. When she came into class, she shouted out her name and her dream, and everyone laughed at her. Because of how chubby her face looked, they called her a tomato. Naruto said. Tsuki spoke up eagerly. And Grandpa helped her, right? She said. Nope. She got mad and the tomato squashed them. Naruto let out a laugh. Tsuki's eyes were shining. Her grandma was awesome. Annabeth was thinking how her grandpa was a once-in-a-lifetime genius, that's amazing. However, Thalia and Luke couldn't help but feel a bit nervous. His family was weird. Not to mention their rather exotic looks. Seriously, blonde hair, red hair, blue eyes, hazel eyes, gray eyes, and amber eyes, that must be one hell of a gene pool. She even got a nickname. The red hot-blooded habanero because of her hair. The rest gave a chuckle. So how did Grandpa get Grandma, or was it Grandma get Grandpa? Annabeth asked. Well, it was a few years after she moved. She was teased because of her hair. She hated it. Around the time she was 13 to 14 she was kidnapped. Naruto said. What? Was the overall reaction. She came from a wealthy family. They wanted her for it, and if it wasn't possible to be willing to help, they would produce their own heir, by any means. He said darkly, causing the older kids to gulp and the others in confusion. They left on foot for God knows what reason. But your grandma left behind a trail of hair. It was a small chance, but it was a chance she took. Just as they were reaching the point of no return, it happened. Naruto grinned. What happened? They said in Cinch. I'd add. Like a hero, he came at the last minute and saved Mom. He was the only one that noticed her hair. He told her that he noticed because it was pretty. Her hair that she hated became what led her to her soulmate. It became the red thread of destiny to her. From then on she liked her hair because it led her to fall in love with Dad. Everyone in the back was smiling except for Tsuki, who was grinning. Who knew romantic stuff like that still happened nowadays? There was thankfully no problems on the road for a while. The only problems they had was the constant bathroom usages of the kids and the food. Naruto never really liked going to fast food places, sure it tasted great, but it tasted too unhealthy to him. Sure, xxAkuxx was vaguely the same, but they made everything handmade and fresh. Not to mention it was more healthier than the stuff they had in this dimension. Luke told Naruto a bit about his mother. Apparently she went a bit crazy. Sometimes screaming at Luke for things that made no sense. Naruto was worried for both of them, if she acted like that, then there was a good chance that things won't go well. They arrived in Connecticut after a few days of travel. Annabeth was angry that she didn't get to see the Pantheon in Nashville and the New York Empire State Building, but she got over it. She was being a brat, her father didn't tell her that, but whenever he sighed, it made her sad. She and Tsuki had one rule they always obeyed. Don't let Dad be sad or mad. Sure, sometimes she whined and Tsuki would cause trouble, but they hated seeing their dad depressed. It wasn't like he wasn't going to bring her there someday either. Sure, she was mad that they skipped the buildings and her computer was busted, but that wasn't a reason to throw a tantrum. She hated looking weak. Luke's house wasn't impressive, but it seemed perfect for the ordinary family to live in. The only thing that seemed unusual was that there was odd things hanging of the window, but that was about it. "Welcome home, kid," Naruto said casually. Luke grunted. Everyone could tell he wasn't exactly looking forward to coming home. But it had to be done, he couldn't exactly run away from it. With long strides, he walked up to the door and knocked. There was rustling and other sounds one could hear from the other side. The door swung open, revealing a tall blonde woman with slightly cloudy eyes. Her hair had a few lines of gray hair, but overall she looked like an above-average pretty blonde who was getting along in years. "Luke? Luke?" the woman cried out, hugging the teenager. "Yeah, hi mom," he greeted. "Luke, where have you been? Look at you look dirty, come inside and get cleaned up," she said as she pushed them in. "Okay, but mom, I gotta," he said but was cut off. "Yes, I know. Come on in everyone. Make yourselves at home," she said. Naruto raised his eyebrows in confusion. How would she know? The only way she could know is if someone informed her that they were coming. There were few people that would bother, Artemis and Athena were out, they had no reason to. Zeus was too, he wouldn't know Luke's mom anyways, so the only one would be. "Hi there son, how have you been?" he heard. Followed by a rather loud thud. "Ah. I did the same thing," Naruto muttered out. The only one that heard him was Thalia, who raised an eyebrow. Quickly he grabbed both the newly arrived Hermes and Luke and separated them and threw them into the closest closed-off room. Probably not one of his most brightest ideas, putting them so close together when Luke was obviously mad at Hermes, but it wasn't like he had a right to interfere. Slipping in a silent seal on the door so no noise would escape, he closed the door and started walking back where the girls were waiting. Wow, his life was totally surrounded by women or girls, weird. All of them looked at him strangely, he sighed, of course they would find it weird. "It's a guy thing," Naruto said. A look of understanding crossed Mrs. Castellan, and Thalia just snorted in understanding while the girls just nodded, accepting their dad's answer. "Now, why don't we introduce ourselves? My name is Naruto and these are my daughters," he said, pointing at them. "Hello, my name's is Annabeth, pleased to meet you," she said politely. "Hello, my name is Tsuki. Do you have anything to eat?" she asked. The women just giggled and nodded. "Hello, my name is Thalia Grace, a pleasure," she said rather stiffly. It was her friend's mom, no matter what every friend wants to make an impression on their friend's mom. The women thought it was funny. "My name is May Castellan, thank you for taking care of Luke," she said. May and Thalia talked for a while, discussing about Luke's little adventure, while Annabeth and Tsuki listened and added their own little things every now and again. Naruto stayed vigilant. He noticed the times when May got a far-off look in her eyes. They were a rare look that not many could tell. Fortunately he knew that gaze, he saw it a few times on Sean, and it was not a normal gaze, it was the gaze of a seer, an oracle. The only time he saw it up close was when he helped Sean to produce an heir. She gained a far-off look shortly after their little adventure, and he told her about the child. Not much but just little things like how she would act and how much he was like him. He kind of hoped for a son honestly, but apparently it was a pseudo-bloodline to always produce a female baby for the priestess. But the thing he found weird was that a seer was located in an area like this. It made no sense, no real protection, no godly things or anything. It was just a woman that Luke described as a little touched in the head. He was so wrapped up in his thoughts, he didn't notice that May was right in front of him until he felt someone caress his cheeks. That caused him to come back from his thoughts, but was a bit startled at the closeness of May. "Can I help you with something?" Naruto asked. "You are a strange one," she said. "Pardon?" he asked confused. "I can't see you or anything else. Everything keeps changing," she muttered. Naruto flinched, his suspicions were right. "So you're an oracle, and by the looks of it, you can't control it," Naruto said. She let out a sad smile. Thalia, Tsuki and Annabeth were in the kitchen eating cookies and Kool-Aid, so they didn't notice them leaving. "So, what can you see?" Naruto asked. She opened her mouth various times but did not speak. It took her a while to find her words. "It's like you said, I'm an oracle but a defective one. I'm slowly descending into madness, I only have brief windows of lucidity from time to time," she said, looking at the floor. "You can't control it, can you?" Naruto said, he was unaware of controlling powers that were not his to command. She shook her head. "It's all random at times, blurs and events that will happen sometime in the future, or maybe they already happened. I see many things. I see the gods, I see the titans, I see people dying. I see many things that I wish I could forget," she grimaced. Naruto nodded, it was never a good experience to see things not meant to be seen. I see my son, I see him walking a path. A dark one. I don't think I will be able to stop him. She said sadly. You can't change it. He asked, to know the future means you can change it. She shook her head. It has been predetermined. Fate has already taken course, and even the prophecies foretell the events. It is inevitable. Naruto let out a laugh, startling the women. God, I haven't laughed like that in a long time. What? She said startled, she expected him to deny it, not laugh at it. Let me tell you a little story. Once there was a beast of unspeakable power, wherever it walked, mountains were formed, lakes were made, it was a symbol of mankind's end. But a man stepped up with the power of the heavens and managed to stop the beast. However, the beast was too powerful, so he separated its spirit and its body and locked it away. At his deathbed he feared the power would escape, so he separated it into 9 parts. He foretold of a person that would one day save the world, the child of prophecy. He left behind 2 children that carried his own power. For many years, chaos and war ensued. The 2 children and their descendants battled many times, the reason for fighting long forgotten. Until as prophesied, the child of prophecy emerged. He was a brave man, compassionate and protective of his family and friends, and a demon to his enemies. He had the power to change the world, he was full of potential. Then one day, the day of his son's birth, he died. May gasped, how could the child of prophecy fall? He died defending his home from one of the 9 parts of the beast. The parts could not die, so he did the most selfish thing he could do. He sealed the power into his own son. She gasped. The son was cursed and blessed from birth. Because of the power, he was seen as an omen and a demon. They shunned him, ignored him. The son was never meant to be the best, he was at most above average. But because he was cursed, he saw the good around him. The son struggled through life, pain, betrayal, loneliness. He was about to fall into darkness if it wasn't for the words of his friend, who would later turn to his enemy. Only when you fight to protect is when you can become truly strong. From then on, the son made that his way of life. He believed in those words, it gave him strength to do what many people thought he could never do. It gave him the power to oppose fate. He fought and never gave up, with his body battered and with his soul about to break, yet he fought on. When he was to fall, the bonds he made from protecting his precious people gave him strength. Then there was a group that wanted the power of the beast for their own goals. With his own goals, he set out to challenge them. The son with no goal of greatness or riches set out on his journey, along the way making more allies and friends, saving those who needed help just because they needed help. Then the true enemy appeared. Having gathered 7 of the 9 powers, he set out to control the world. But without no child of prophecy, it was destined to fall. But the son never gave up. Even with the power odds against him, even with the one he called a brother and all but blood fraud against him, he did not give up. He never wanted the power, all he wanted to do was protect. He became a guardian. The boy with no hope of winning declared that his father entrusted him with his dreams, his goals. He took up his mantle, the child of prophecy. Without anything but what he learned throughout his journey, he faced a beast of unspeakable power. But the teaching of his teacher, the wisdom of a hermit, the blessing of a man whom challenged his conviction, and the bonds he formed with everyone. He succeeded. The boy who everyone thought would amount to nothing did the impossible. He brought peace to the world, but he didn't stop there. He grew restless and one day he decided to continue on his journey to parts unknown. Nothing is set on stone. As long as one never gives up, anything is possible. He said. Looking at the totally enraptured woman in front of him. Maybe his life story would make an excellent book. May just grinned at him and smiled. You really are an unusual one. Naruto looked confused. I can see you in the future, but it is always changing. Your future is your own, I can only see a certain ways away. There are ones where you are surrounded by children, another where you are fighting the gods, another where they are at your feet, and others where you set the world ablaze. You really live up to your name. You are a person able to defy fate. It is a powerful power, a curse and a blessing. There's even one with many women by your side. She said, giggling a bit at the last one. Naruto blushed, that one seemed the most likely despite the weirdness of it. Naruto just shook at the thought and shrugged. Tell me something I don't know. This stuff has come at me so often it's become ordinary. I guess I really do live up to the Uzumaki name. We were always a rowdy bunch, even if I'm one of the last. He grinned. She smiled, it was a joy to meet him. He was capable of many things and she was interested in him, the things he could do would make anyone want to know him. Can I ask a question? He said. Oh sure. What about my daughters? Will they be alright? He asked. She smiled, believe it or not, in almost every vision I had, you were dedicated to making them happy. He just smiled while she remained smiling. It was a comfortable moment when two parents couldn't help but smile at what their child was doing, or in this case, what would happen. Just then, the doors where Luke and Hermes were slammed open and Luke ran out of the house with a backpack full of clothes. All the kids looked shocked at Luke. After a few seconds they realized that he was leaving and chased after him. Naruto stayed back and saw everything unfold. Hermes came out with a solemn look in his face, while May looked like she could break into tears. "What happened?" he asked. Hermes sighed, he really didn't know what to say. How could he tell Naruto what lay in store for his son? May looked at him with understanding, but it still affected her. She is still as beautiful as ever. He thought. "It's complicated," he said. Naruto just looked between May and Hermes. He could take a guess that whatever Luke asked wasn't good. It didn't deal with Luke's growing hatred of the gods and how he would one day make them pay, would they? Naruto said bluntly. He saw both Hermes and May flinch. "Seriously?" he blurted out. "How did you know?" Hermes asked. "The guess honestly," Naruto responded. "The guess?" May shouted. It took her being a half-oracle to see what her son would become, and he just took a guess. "It isn't the first time I've seen eyes like that. He's walking an Avenger's path and nothing will get in his way. I had a friend who was like that, he went insane. There were others that were the same," he said. "Seriously, Sasuke, Gaara, puppet dude from back in time, what's his face that kidnapped Kakashi, seriously, there were a lot of messed up Mothafers in the elemental nations. He even fought an alternate version of himself. You know, last time I thought you were interesting. Now you're the strangest person I've ever met," Hermes said, his wife lover nodding. "Meh, it's a gift. Seriously, it runs in the family," Naruto said, joked. "You have one messed up family," Hermes said. "Really? With all the incest in your guys' family, you guys shouldn't talk," Naruto shot back. Well, incest wasn't uncommon with clans back in the elemental nation, but he didn't know that until later in life. But then again, being a ninja broadened his outlook to accept shit. "Well, I guess you got a point there," he agreed. "Well, after a few thousand years, inhibition like that tends to vanish at some point. Sure, some don't act on it, but it doesn't really matter. Anyways, what are you going to do with Luke?" Naruto said. "I can't do anything. It is forbidden to interfere with a hero's destiny," Hermes said, indicating his son. "Hero? You call all demigods a hero, right?" he said. "Well, back in the day they usually ended up as heroes, so it sorta stuck," Hermes said. "You guys just keep bringing trouble, don't you?" Naruto muttered. Hermes stayed quiet. It was true, World War II was proof, not to mention the other near-apocalyptic things that have gone off. "Well, whatever. Fortunately I'm still human. I'm not sure I can change his way, but I'll have his back," Naruto said, shrugging. He couldn't convince Sasuke, then he might as well support Luke. If things go wrong he would end him himself, the gods be damned. "Thank you very much," May told him. Even with the curse of Hades affecting her, she still loves her son. Some of the nicest people have the most horrible luck. "Thank you, Naruto, for everything," Hermes said. "All in a day's work for an orphan," Naruto said. He calmly walked out the door, leaving behind Hermes and May. "He's going to change things, you know. He's a walking disaster for everyone that he sees as a threat. Not even the gods can stand up against him when he gets angry," May said out loud. "Naruto is an interesting person. I don't know him well, hell if we even spend an hour together I guarantee you that I'd probably consider him my best buddy. But that's what scares me, he can be the best friend a person can have, but the worst enemy one can make," Hermes said. "How do you know that?" she asked her once upon a time lover. "I don't know. He reminds me of a parent taking care of their young. A parent can be aggressive and protective, but this guy he a whole new monster when it comes to protection. Honestly, if he met Hestia, I doubt we'd have any virgin goddesses left," he said. "Wait, you mean she trailed off?" "Yup. Wow. Lucky bastard." Then they heard a loud boom, followed by rather loud curses. They sounded vaguely like Naruto screaming about his car. Is he still a lucky bastard? He got virgin goddesses. Touché. Naruto was furious right now. Why? Because a bloody monster had the nerve to attack him while he was driving. Thankfully the children hadn't been with him, but still, he almost died in a fiery metal death trap. Then again, it was better than drowning in a cold metal death trap. How come there's always some kind of metal death trap? Oh, he was pissed. His freaking car blew up. He wouldn't have cared, but all his money and whatever clothes he brought were in there. Luckily he kept his gear and scrolls sealed on his person at all time, but still his car blew up. If the monster that rammed into his car didn't explode with the car, he would have shoved a Senengarashi revised edition on its ass. Naruto looked around, wondering why the hell the streets were empty, and as it looked like, he was surrounded. "What the hell?" he yelled. The monsters seemed to have gathered, it wasn't a normal amount either. Sure, there were monsters here and there, but never as many as he was seeing right now. But why now? Why at this moment? I'm separated from everyone else. He thought. These monsters waited for him to be alone and separated from his charges. They must have known that with him around, they'd stand no chance. So most likely they were either making sure he died right now or they were stalling. Either way, these monsters are clearly more smarter than they let on. He thought they ran on mostly primal instinct. But then he thought again, primal instinct allowed animals to evolve and adapt. After thousands of years fighting demigods after demigods, he guessed that's where they picked it up from. But still, it's way too many for just being around. He just left it that they chased him for a while. He had been driving with 4 demigods and his abnormalness, it must have been irresistible for the monsts. Someone has it in for me. I don't know who or what, but this is serious bullshit. Naruto murmured. Normally he would not have cared, but he had a family and daughters and charges to care for, he couldn't go gung-ho anymore. He couldn't spend his time just fighting for the fun of it. He really needed to end this fast. Think Naruto. What can help you take out a large number of enemies in a little time with water being in abundance at the moment? xxAkuxx. If I ever meet Haku again, I'll make sure to give him something nice. Naruto said. A sudden rush of mist blanketed the region. If there was something Naruto had in abundance of, it was chakra. Taking out Kusanagi that Orochimaru once wielded to make sure that the monsters were ripped to pieces, after all, he was pretty sure that monsters can't survive with their heads decapitated and their chest ripped open with severed limbs. Hyoten Makyo Hasho. Ice mirrors began forming in the air all around him. Within seconds, the panes created out of the moisture in the air formed into a dome, comprising of many ice mirrors. The Jinchuriki's eyes darted around, looking from one block to the next, before locking onto his opponents, still looking clueless of what was about to happen. Naruto cracked his neck and swung the sword a couple of times, ripping through wind as he did so. Now, since the little kids aren't here, there's nothing holding me back. I'll make sure to end it in a second. Naruto said as his body merged with the mirror. There was one monster that was able to talk that could summarize what had happened. Just as he almost met his own end, he only managed to say one thing. A demon in the mist. Tsuki was learning another lesson that her dad had told her once upon a time ago. Tsuki, at some point in time, I won't be there to defend you. So use everything you learned to protect yourself, by any means. Tsuki couldn't help but agree with her father. That's why she always had one of those funny-looking knives her father always had around with her. Luke had ran a long way, they somehow managed to keep up with him. After a few swear words and a couple of punches to a wall, he seemed to calm down. But she could tell that he wasn't. She had an uncanny ability to tell if a person was dark. She didn't know why, but it was like she could sense emotions, but not things like happiness, more like bad things, albeit she had no control of it. She was so wrapped up in figuring Luke's newfound darkness that was beginning to latch to him, she didn't notice what was going on around them. However, Annabeth did. She had learned a bit from her past encounter. She made a note of it to stay constantly alert. She was still beginning to do it, so she wasn't the best at it. But when she finally realized what was going on, she said it in the most cliché way possible. It's too quiet. She said. Tsuki would have laughed at that if she hadn't noticed the same thing shortly after. Thalia cursed out loud and Luke cringed, realizing that his emotional outburst might have gotten them killed. And worse, her father wasn't there. A bunch of monsters appeared, in all shapes and sizes. Some just crazy looking, some had animal body parts, and some looked like birds. Sweat fell from her forehead as she looked around, it wasn't looking good at all. It wasn't until one of the birds attempted to claw Luke's tear-soaked eyes that she threw the knife which struck the bird between its eyes. Nice shot. Thalia grunted as quietly as possible. Yeah, Dad taught me to throw them. She said as she retrieved the knife. Huh. That's pretty cool actually. Thalia murmured. This is not the time to praise Dad for being awesome. Annabeth cut in. Each one drawing their own weapon, Annabeth wielding the dagger that Luke gave her, got into their fighting stances which were nothing but sticking their weapons out, got ready for whatever would happen. Unfortunately, all the monsters bellowed, causing Tsuki and Annabeth to fall on their behind. While they may be brave, they had just come to a realization that their death was fast approaching. As they fell, both daggers struck the floor, causing Tsuki's knife to light up briefly. Then, they felt an oppressive aura. It was heavy, it was nothing that they have ever felt before, but just like that, it vanished. Oh, there's more. They heard. All of them turned around to see the sight of a familiar mop of blonde hair. The only thing that was different was that he was holding an extremely long sword that was stabbing a monster that attempted to attack from behind. All of them looked at Naruto and gulped, they had never seen him with such a serious expression, except when Annabeth was attacked, but this look held power that seemed like he was confident he could win. Tsuki, what was one of the rules I told you about, you know about dropping your weapon? He said in monotone. Suki gulped. T2 never drop your weapon when there's still enemies. Sorry dad. She said meekly. Well, you did help me get here, so I'll forgive you, okay sweetie. Naruto said softly, rubbing the top of her head. She nodded. Looks like you guys got into a lot of trouble this time. He said, whistling at the amount of monsters. I get the feeling this is your fault dad. Annabeth snapped. Naruto's sweat dropped. It might be true, his daughter had incredible insight at these kinds of things. You're probably right dear. He said. He really had to decide what to do next. On one hand he could take care of themselves and on the other, he needed them to learn that their actions have consequence. He sighed, he needed them to face danger in order to grow, because if being a demigod was anything like being a ninja, they would never be completely safe. There was only one thing to do. He looked at Thalia, she had a lot of potential, and if he was right with her electricity control, then it might be possible to utilize his lightning element jutsu with hers. Hey, Thalia, have you ever seen the movie Star Wars? He asked. There were monsters everywhere. Luke wondered what the hell Naruto was doing because he was reaching for a piece of paper. He called Thalia over and he asked her a question. Yeah, why? She responded. How do you feel about becoming a GD? He asked. He pulled out a hilt from the paper. How did he even do that? He placed it in Thalia's hands and it instantly grew a blade of freaking lightning. That was so badass. Holy what the hell is this? She screamed. She was more amazed than shocked. Who wouldn't? She had a freaking lightsaber in her hands. That my dear girl is called Raijin no Ken. Otherwise known as the Sword of the Thunder God. He said, epically. Annabeth chipped in. Forget what I said before, dad is awesome. Thalia was convinced. Naruto was the best dad ever. Wait, they were technically related through the grapevine as some distant uncle. So let me rephrase that. Naruto was the best uncle ever. Okay, since I know you guys won't be able to handle them all, I'll get rid of most of them. You guys pick off the small ones. Tsuki, Annabeth, you two are in no condition to fight, you have only 2 daggers and nothing else. You stay behind everyone and if necessary run distractions. I won't forgive you if any of you die. Got it. Naruto yelled, getting nods from them. Dad, after this promise you'll train us. Annabeth said. Tsuki nodded. I was going to wait a year or two, but I guess I got no choice. I promise. He said, getting his infamous smile from him. Just as Naruto prepared to pull out his scroll full of Horatian kunai, he felt a presence. A lot of presences actually. They were all immortal or semi-immortal by the feel of it except for one. He had already gotten a grasp of how the gods' aura or power felt, so he could pinpoint any gods if they let their presence be felt. Wait a bit everyone, we have company Naruto said, gaining everyone's attention. Just as they were about to ask what he was talking about, an arrow shot from the forest nearby felling a monster. Then more and more arrows came out, piercing and killing all the monsters and turning them into gold dust. Not bad. Naruto commented. What just happened? Luke said out loud. Thalia was a bit angry that she didn't get to use her new lightsaber. It was so badass. Naruto ignored his question and faced the forest. You know, I sorta figured we'd meet again like this. Is that weird? Naruto said out loud. Not really. I thought the same. As they heard the voice, figures started coming out of the forest. What was strange is that they were all young, not young as in young adult, like literally just breaking their double-digit birthdays. Most of them were scowling at him and at Luke. He felt a tug on his pants. Hey dad, who are they? He looked down and saw Tsuki. Oh, the chances. Those are the hunters, basically it's a group of young girls that pledge their loyalty to the goddess Artemis and they are bound to her. Semi-immortal, loathe boys in general. The one with the auburn hair and silvery yellow eyes is Artemis. Don't say anything offensive or she'll turn you into an antelope. Naruto quickly summarized, earning a rather audible gulp from Luke, while Thalia looked interested and Annabeth slightly. Tsuki seemed a bit nervous for reasons she didn't know. The 12-year-old looking Artemis couldn't help but stare at the girl practically hugging her once upon a time lover's leg. Naruto is that she trailed off, changing into her adult form. The hunters who now saw the girl and his own charges were now looking back and forth between Artemis and Tsuki, almost as if trying to connect the dots. Tsuki. He said, drawing her attention. Don't be shy, say hello to mom. The distinct word, what? Was heard for miles. What if Naruto gets Athena pregnant? Percy Jackson end here and thanks for watching my video till the end.